Reveille, donks.
Look at us now, tip to tip. This is our life. This is our passion. That's the spirit we bring to this show.
I'm Luke Thomas.
I'm Brian Campbell.
This is Morning Combat. Hey, we've been gone a while. What's up there, BC?
Yeah, it feels like a long time coming to get back in front of this damn microphone here.
How are you? Morning Combat is back on this 31st of May, 2024, live from New York City here in the Middle Arc Studios.
We're a stone's throw away from The Rock over there in Newark, New Jersey, the site of Saturday's UFC 302, which will be a very big topic in today's episode. But great to be back with you. And most importantly, great to be welcoming in a little bit later today, maybe the most excited we've been for a guest in Morning Combat history, Luke Thomas. And the first chance you will to finally do recreational White Lightning live on the broadcast.
People have been asking, would you do drugs with Craig Jones? And the answer is yes. Yes, I would. Yes,
would you risk the future of your good name by doing it right here, right now? Only you can find that out if you tune into this program.
I've got nothing left to protect, so let's just do drugs. That's my view on things. Nice to see you, Brian Campbell.
Yes.
What a day it is. Friday here, New York City, just across the water at the Prudential Center at almost this time tomorrow. Not quite, but pretty close. UFC 302 is going to go down. We're going to talk about that today. We're going to preview the main and co-main event, some of the rest of the card as well. As you indicated, at noon Eastern Standard Time, Craig Jones will be here. And then we're just going to... I don't know.
Probably the best hour in the show's history coming your way. But don't forget, two grown men are going to bang this Saturday in Saudi Arabia, and we're fired up for it, too. So Deontay Wilder and Big Bang Zhang going to do it, so we'll set that.
They're going to bang each other. That's
we're
going to be
bang
great.
each other. Okay. By the way, New England clam chowder is so much better than Manhattan chowder.
All clam chowder is pretty fucking gross. It's not.
No.
Clam chowder is not that money.
Are you kidding? See, they'll never allow you in New England because of shit takes like
wow,
this.
what am I going to do? Unable to go to states like Rhode Island or
Vermont,
Connecticut.
Vermont does not want you.
I had a meeting with a guy this week, and he was asking, where does BC live? And I was like, because they thought that you lived in and around DC. I was like, no. Yeah, he lives in Connecticut. And the exact response that I got was, why? It's a shithole. That was the exact response.
It's actually not a shithole. It is such an underratedly beautiful state. But if your only reference point is using it as a highway to connect New York to Boston, then yes, it is a flaming shithole. There you go.
Well, I'm ready to bang. Glad you're here. So thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. Please hit subscribe if you haven't done so already. You might be asking, Luke, since BC and you were here on Friday, what's happening on Monday? We're right back to the regular rotation.
It was the Memorial Day holiday in the States this week, so the studio was closed, but we are still hitting you hard this weekend here ahead of 302. I'm fired up. I'm ready. Let's do this thing.
I'm ready to go as well. So thanks to everyone who was patient with us because we were not on for Memorial Day. We're here today. We really appreciate it. As a reminder, by the way, you can get merch, morningcombat.store. I don't have on any yet. I might if it gets a little cooler in here. I have my jacket out, but you can get tons of stuff out there as well. You can follow us on all the social channels that are out there as well. And of course, if you want to email the show for any reason, morningcombat@gmail.com. BC, I get asked every week on the live chat, both in the free and the paid sections, about when a Friday show is coming. Now, today we're doing a Friday show, but they mean like a second MK weekly show. And I never have an answer for them because I know that we're working on some of these things, but I can't just manufacture them.
Yeah.
What would you say to people being like, hey, we want a Monday, we want a Friday show, we want to rock out with our cock out, dicks out for Harambe? What would you say?
I would say that you are not alone, okay? I am here with you, right? I mean, though we're far apart, right? Now, here's the deal. As Luke often says, if you don't think that's exactly what we are fighting for on a daily and weekly basis, hourly basis at times behind the scenes, then you are friggin' crazy. It's coming. It's on the horizon. You can see it. We're on the way to it. Yes, I know it's been a slow rebuild. Luke said we were going to do something that's never been done in MMA podcast history before.
I never said that, no.
Maybe they meant we were going to sit around and wait.
Why do you take shots at me about what I've said? I don't
because
do that
you're a very comical person.
Yeah, that's fine. But it's like Brian Campbell said he was going to blow Craig Jones. You didn't actually say that. So I don't.
If I said it, I would have followed through. Luckily, I am a man of my word to a certain degree.
It's like it's time to pay the piper. You just got to do what you got to do.
But no, Luke, it's coming. It's coming, guys.
In fairness, we had talked about doing things differently. It's just we have to get there. It takes a little longer than we thought.
It is, and look, but just so people always realize, The alternative was to like sit out for an additional like 6 months.
Yeah.
The fact that we are here right now, Mondays only normally, today, Friday in the Meadowlark Studios, Manhattan, is a testament to faith, belief, and building and the powers that be behind the scenes and the great Brian Daly shout out. But we are getting there. We are on our way. Let's do it.
With that in mind, BC, why don't we start the show? Let's talk about UFC 302. As we mentioned, it will take place at the Prudential Center tomorrow in Newark, New Jersey, where many a great fight has taken place, like Colby Covington, Robbie Lawler, or when I was there for Kimbo Slice versus James Thompson, and where the Nick, the Mad Monkey Serra, sat on his rear end. The referee told him to stand up, and he refused and was disqualified for butt scooting.
And don't forget about the diseases that were shared at the Newark Penn train station on the way to The Rock. Right?
All kinds of illnesses available for those
This is
curious.
the best correlation of The Rock into the UFC brand. Way better than Project X shoes. Okay, this the Prudential Center, the Rock. I love when the UFC comes to the armpit of America, known as Northeast New Jersey. Let's do it.
Home to Shakur Stevenson. I don't think he'll be there. Either way, BC, your main event, Dustin Poirier, in what could be his last fight, or certainly, in all likelihood, is his last attempt to get the title. Should he prove unable to get it, this is going to be it, and he has been very clear about it. Takes on Islam Makhachev. I was looking at something, BC, and of course, odds are not in any way a final determinative factor, but someone had asked me yesterday, do you think he has more or less of a chance against Khabib? So I looked up the odds. Even our friends at DraftKings have Dustin Poirier as more of an underdog against Islam Makhachev than they ever did against Khabib Nurmagomedov. Do you find that surprising? Do you understand that? How do you view how these two match up, and what kind of real shot that a beloved figure of the game that Dustin Poirier is, that he actually has on Saturday?
By those odds, I'm not surprised. Mother effer. Dustin's a little bit older. He's fighting the clear, hands down, best fighter in the world in Islam Makhachev, a guy who is getting so close, and I'm sure we're going to break down a lot of the stats that are sort of at stake or on the line, or that he can continue on this win streak that has been incredible. He's on his way to becoming one of the greatest fighters in the history of this sport. It doesn't necessarily mean that right now we know he's better than Khabib, or that comparison between the two are necessary, despite the fact that they nearly succeeded each other, but Charles Oliveira slid in between, and they come from the same camp. But I think I can tell you that Islam Makhachev is a more well-rounded fighter than Khabib, and certainly there's a reason why he's at this point of where he's at in this win streak, which is now 13, atop the sport, atop one of the deepest divisions, and coming off back-to-back wins, as we see your $50 haircut entering my shot right there, coming off back-to-back wins over the guy that we thought was the best fighter in the sport. I don't want to hear about the weight class difference, because look what happened the first time around. It was close. But Luke, does Poirier have a chance? I think this fight, look, UFC's turning the corner in the right way, in my opinion, right now in terms of promotion. We've got a Conor McGregor, Michael Chandler press conference in Dublin coming up, right? Mm-hmm. That's going to feel like, going to feel like the build to Conor versus Aldo. These are the type of old tools from the playbook that we have asked them to use, and they're using it. So what about this weekend? I just have to say, coming off of 24 to 48 hours of just ingesting nothing but UFC hype material, which they do a great job of, from Countdown to Embedded to the press conference and all that, Luke, or the UFC 302 pep rally, as you like to call it.
What it is.
This is suddenly a great fight. UFC fell into it because of Poirier's resurgence and the sort of come-from-behind stoppage of Benoit Saint Denis coming off his own head kick knockout loss to Gaethje in their rematch. But Luke, this is still, even though the UFC has done a great job selling it, even though Dustin Poirier at Thursday's press conference, like, if you want to talk about Dustin, come out there and give us reason to buy in that this upset is possible. Luke, what else could Dustin Poirier have done, coming in incredible top shape? Tan, by the way, must have been hitting the tanning bed. Yeah, ready for this mentally, physically, is playing up the last chance element. We love the go home walk-off story from the older beloved athlete. It kind of ties in as well to the Cody Rhodes WWE storyline that just culminated at WrestleMania with the, finish the story. This is what Dustin has, 25 minutes, not to make it all make sense, Luke, but to finish the story. They've sold the shit out of that. They made me want to believe. Dustin has made me want to believe. So, does he have a chance in this? Of course he does, because he's so mentally tough, because he's so battle-tested. He makes love to pressure and adversity. That's the calling card of who he is. But Luke, it's not the age that's the reason for this. But I have to believe that as much as we'd love to buy in the mythology of the old guy doing it again and having this great moment, right? Having this great Randy Couture versus Tim Sylvia moment, this great reminder of that anything's possible fresh off of Max doing that at 300. It's a great story. but he's not fighting a guy with holes. He's not fighting Luke Rockhold, which gave Michael Bisping his moment that put the capstone similarly on his career. He's fighting the best fighter in the sport with no holes in his game, a guy that is a matchup problem for Poirier at any time, any age, any level. Why? Because there is levels to this game. Poirier is one of the all-time greats, one of the few that can get into the Hall of Fame, regardless if he ever won an undisputed championship or not. But Islam's just another level, dude. And at 32, he's at the peak of his physical and mental prime. And I go back to the style matchup, Luke. No one can speak to a style matchup better than you, not only in this podcast, but maybe in this game. This is not a matchup that under any category outside of straight ahead boxing, if nothing else was added in, and maybe will, although I think sometimes the intangibles of Islam get covered up by his greatness and his finishing ability. This is as big of an uphill climb as you can possibly get for a beloved fighter at 35 who's trying to buck the trend of your favorite stat.
The initial question was about, were you surprised that the Khabib odds, which were still wide, but not as wide as this one? And when you begin to really look at Islam's career, this is why I love this fight so much, because the winner here really gets a lot in the end. If you're Islam Makhachev, this is a huge reward. There is no one quite on his resume that certainly Charles Oliveira was beloved and, by the way, was a full-on weight class champion. That was a really valuable win. But I think there's some people who kind of feel like it came a little bit too easily, and Dustin Poirier, maybe he's better, maybe he's worse, but would provide a sturdier test. And certainly from a celebrated standpoint, this might be the best name on his resume. Again, celebrated standpoint, you're taking somebody who finished Conor McGregor, finished Eddie Alvarez, finished Michael Chandler, finished Justin Gaethje, and I can go on down the list. That is a substantial boost to the resume should he get it. But I really want to go back and I want to make a point about Islam Makhachev, because I know people say that he is inactive. That is absolutely not true. He's the second most active champion the UFC currently has.
People think because of Ramadan that he's suddenly this champion that's only flying in once a year to defend the belt and walking away.
And of course, he had the 2 fights against Volkanovski, who's not a natural lightweight, so that kind of contributes to it as well. I understand that. I'm not saying I don't want to see him more. I do think he could be a little bit more active, but he's not. The idea that he's been inactive is simply not true, or that he's some cheap version of Khabib. Let me read to you some statistics that Islam has. First of all, he is tied with Khabib and Max Holloway with a total 13-fight win streak. It's 12 at lightweight. The Bobby Green fight was a catch weight of 160, so it technically does not count as a lightweight fight, but 13, which if he gets 14, he's going to leapfrog GSP, John Jones, and Demetrius Johnson, and of course, Khabib and Max. He'll be just behind in terms of win streaks Anderson Silva and Kamaru Usman. That is the place at which he is now at the precipice. That's the first thing. Strikes absorbed per minute, he's 8th best all time in UFC history. He's top 10 all time in significant strike accuracy at 60.4%, and again at 55. Finishes in the top 8, top 5 with subs at 6, top 4. Title fight wins with 3. Control time, he's also in the top 10. He's number 1 at 155 all time with significant strike accuracy, tied for number 1 all time with 1.24 strikes absorbed per minute, which is so comically low.
And it doesn't play into, I mean, it's low because of the grappling takedown, but then he sucks the life out of you when you're down there.
And then lastly, top 4 at 155 in takedown accuracy, 61.2%. You might be asking, what's the career percentage of Khabib? It's 48. And tied for number 1 takedown defense, 91%. Dude, this fucking guy is on the precipice of doing something very substantial. A win over Poirier, which I think Poirier is overmatched, but this is a winnable fight for him. Power's the last thing to go. As you mentioned, this guy has been in the trenches. So I think Islam also has his work cut out for him. But I just want to point out, you're already talking about a guy from a statistical viewpoint. And again, what the tape shows, doesn't make mistakes for the most part, doesn't get into bad situations for the most part, just really safe but dominant. Look at how thoroughly dominant he is. You've already added Charles Oliveira to that. You've added 2 wins over Volkanovski.
Dan Hooker before that.
If you can add Poirier to that resume, dude, you are going to get to the point where we're already hearing absurd criticisms. I'm talking about a borderline unimpeachable resume.
Well, let's add
Islam
to it.
Makhachev is that good.
If he wins this, if you want to say, okay, well, what about history? What has he done there? Well, he would tie for the most lightweight title defenses if he wins this, tying with like BJ Penn and with like, the legends of this division. But then I think the point you made is the greatest. We used to say Islam looks great and this win streak is great, but come on, fight elite guys. But now when you take into the totality, not just that stretch of Hooker, Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, and now if he adds Poirier, already got that win against Arman Saryukin. It's going to be a great storyline. They're
Yeah,
eventually going to run it back. If
it was
he wins.
UFC debut, but yes, it has aged well.
And then has already recovered mentally and physically and whatever else from that invincibility pull or in a second UFC fight when he got knocked out. It's been so long ago and so removed that I can't even remember off the top of my head. Who was the guy?
I think it was Adriano Martins.
I'd sometimes get confused. The guy that got Colby early mixed with the guy that got...
that was Warlley Alves.
That was Warlley Alves. He's already like been through that. So it's not like, oh, this guy's been so dominant, but what happens when he gets in a fight where it's even? Saw him against Volkanovski in the first fight where he had Coach Craig Jones. He had the ability to kind of neutralize to a certain degree that great fighter, and he still found a way, and look what he did in the rematch. That's the thing, that it's like any other situation. Like this is the dilemma that this fight puts you in a good way, in an entertaining way, in a way when you want to buy in from a betting angle, from a whatever angle, is we've seen enough to know, Luke, that nothing's a guarantee, whether it's Nunes Pena won, whether it's Usyk Fury, whether it's whatever. Like we've seen enough lately to know, like you can't just go on the stats or you can't just go on the history or whatever. But like Luke, this guy, Makhachev, is closer to like immortality and all-time greatness and the level that like Poirier in one night here is trying to get the stamp to pass. And he's probably already there anyway, right? He's that rare guy that he doesn't even need the title. But like he's trying to stamp in there. The guy across from him is on his way of getting there as quietly as possible. That's what makes doing this so hard and so absurd. So Luke, you're torn with, okay, that's fine. But what about those other fights? What did we not see that we should have saw? I've been doing that a lot on this one.
I'm asking, whose fights?
Yeah, Fury Usyk is one of them. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. It's fights that coming in a certain sway or betting line angle or whatever.
We both thought Usyk was going to win.
In that case, yes. I'm just sort of I'm looking, okay, you can bring up the recent big upsets, whether it was Leon against Usman or whether, you know what I'm saying? Like the ones where it just broke out, the Poatan against Adesanya. So it puts you in a spot where you want to start learning your lessons, going, okay, Dustin is on such a streak right now, though, and it would finish the story.
No, he's not. He got knocked out the same day as Spence Crawford.
I guess what I say, and that's why I was going to amend it right there. You're right. But I mean a streak of storyline. But storyline doesn't win titles, right? Storyline is nice, is like when you get served the plate at the elite restaurant, Luke, and you got the vegetables that are made up just for decoration, right? The problem is he's fighting one of the best of all time here. And I just can't paint a picture for him to win. And as much as I want to, when Islam, and he does a good job being the villain, right? He's not trying to be the hero or villain ever. He's just, I am who I am. I'm going to beat every guy you put in front of me. But what Islam said at the press conference on Thursday is like a dick move that puts water on this potential fun fire of Poirier doing what we think is not possible. But look, what Islam said on every turn actually makes the most sense. He's like, I've seen guys that were lesser wrestlers than me have their way with Poirier. I've also seen Poirier come from behind and do these big knockouts that you all love against other brawlers who are squaring up in front of him. And look, as much as we love, and dude, we love Justin Gaethje, Michael Chandler, Eddie Alvarez, all the great action heroes of this lightweight era who also happen to be title contenders and in a lot of cases former champions, they do square up and make it possible in the late rounds in the midst of a great fight for this to happen. I just don't think Dustin can lure Islam to that area where this could happen under those circumstances. I think he's going to need extreme luck. Like, would you say what Holloway had against Gaethje in round one when he busted the nose? It was almost like a perfect strategy, but it was almost a perfect storm of luck that allowed that performance to happen, right?
I think people overstate how lucky it is, but yes, it is lucky.
But Poirier is going to need something dramatic like that, in my opinion, to be in this fight and have a shot, because
Let's see the face-off.
What's our history, Luke? Our history are guys that are either mistake prone or technically not great, kind of falling apart in the midst of his fire. This man across from him does not fall apart in the midst of any type of fire, Luke.
I will say that the weight cut is an X factor. Now, both of them made weight right away. Both of them had sunglasses on when they made weight, probably to disguise how drained they were. That to me is an X factor. Now, he's not traveling a ton for this. I think he's been in the States for a while at this point. So that is also a mitigating factor, but I will say that could drain him. Still, BC, we do need to put some respect on Poirier's name.
No, but could you address what I was relaying to you, what Islam said? I don't think there's actually an argument against what he's saying, which is like, hey, Dustin's great, but what do wrestlers do to him? And look at me. There's a certain type of guy that Poirier comes back and finishes. Islam's not that dude, though. He's not that dude that gets in those situations.
So he finished off Michael Chandler, who has a similar background, but Michael Chandler is so much more reckless, so much more willing to take chances that a guy like Islam doesn't, but Islam also doesn't make nearly as many mistakes. And so that makes it so much harder when a guy isn't open to, again, good fighters take advantage of openings. Great fighters make their opponents make mistakes. Dude, Islam is very resistant to that. Super resistant to that.
I think the only question is Islam going to try to F around and get a guillotine to try to just like double down and
I think he's going to go for a submission. I do think that, whether he'll get it or not. But I want to put some respect on Poirier's name, if I may, BC, because we got some sound I want to get to as well. I listed some stats for Islam. It's only right that I would list them for Poirier as well. These are only at lightweight, but consider the gravity of them. Top 10 for most wins at 14. Top 4 for most finishes at 10. Tied for first all time in terms of KO or TKO wins. Top 6 for most post-fight bonuses at 11. Fourth most knockdowns with 10. By the way, Melvin Gillard still number 1 in that category, which is fucking bonkers. Top 7 most significant strikes landed with 1,194, and top 10 strikes landed per minute at 6.03 as an average, which is super, super high.
It's incredible that he's here doing what he's doing right now. It's absolutely
especially for an elite fighter like this. And our guy, Shaq, actually caught up with him. He actually didn't text me this, which is why I feel comfortable using it.
Yeah,
because otherwise I'd tell him to go fuck himself.
The Shaq MMA channel on YouTube.
Someone asked me a question, and it was, what would be a more feel-good story? The Michael Bisping UFC 199 story, or Dustin Poirier winning a title on Saturday? And I got to tell you, you have to think about that one for just a second.
No, you don't.
Well, hold on. They're a little bit different because Michael Bisping was shooting a movie when he got the call on 2.5 weeks' notice to take that fight. So it was the most abrupt of circumstances, which made that one highly implausible. Plus, that was a rematch, and Rockhold had finished him off one-armed guillotine in Australia the first time.
Dominated him. What was that? 2 years earlier.
Yeah,
dominated
crushed him. So, BC, I want to play some sound, but first let's get an answer to that question. What would be a more feel-good moment, Bisping at 199 or if Poirier can get it done at 302?
Easily this. And I think part of that is because Bisping in a lot of his career was a villain and played into that role, not just like the foreign guy arriving on the scene, but like there's been a lot of times where Bisping was looked at as a fighter, as a villain. I've been open and honest in saying...
When he spat on the corner of Jorge Rivera, that was a big one.
I mean, he's always sort of been this like fighting off the image of what Dan Hendo did to him at 100. And the fact that he ended up winning the title and beating Hendo in the rematch, like it's a testament of who he is. But even though his story became a great feel-good story, I was there cage side when it happened at 199 LA. I think Poirier is just so much more beloved. And Luke, he's almost endured more. I mean, you can make a similar case. I think the difference is Michael Bisping's almost a guy who did climb the mountain and become champion that we actually still debate and did a fun high court segment about it, whether even with the title win, is he actually really a Hall of Famer? Because the only thing really against Bisping, the longevity's great, the gameness in 2 divisions, but he doesn't have a lot of big wins. He's got more big name losses than he does big name wins. Dude, Poirier is overflowing with big name wins. Yeah. And I think that emotional story that goes back to the build of the Khabib fight. It goes back to the 25, when he modified the Teddy Atlas phrase about the 25 minutes to make it all make sense. Originally 36 minutes because he's talking about boxing. And now he's saying to finish the story. I mean, it's perfect storytelling. It's the American. I mean, like he is the embodiment to me of a smaller weight class Randy Couture. Like that's Dustin Poirier's legacy to me.
Randy Couture?
In that sense, because this Captain America, that it doesn't matter the age or the circumstances, or that he just is coming off of a devastating loss on any given night, Luke Thomas, throughout Dustin Poirier's career, and this is also in play on Saturday night. On any given night, greatness shoots out of him. And that greatness can overtake anyone. And I don't think that was actually the same with Michael Bisping. Although he did get to that title level and he did get that win, he wasn't as nearly beloved. And I think I've been on record saying, look, I like Bisping as a personality. I don't love him as a color commentator in the UFC. And I think sometimes the reason is I don't think he plays into his true personality enough of being kind of a trash-talking villain. I'd like to see him lean into that more.
He's very deferential,
apologetic almost like making an apology before criticizing a fighter. But that's neither here nor there in the argument. This is such a potential feel-good story. But unlike the other recent feel-good stories, I just can't talk myself into it. So try and talk me into it, Luke.
Okay, so I want to point out something. Here's what the difference in the stories are, the best I can tell. The Bisping story, again, he had beaten Anderson Silva, an aged version of him, but he beat him. Dude,
I don't think he deserved to win that night. That's part of...
Okay, but getting dropped into third the way he did and then winning decisively into fourth?
Courageous.
Okay, that's exactly the right word. He has a little bit of a vibe when he won the title of the little engine that could. Whereas, listen to this stat from Poirier, and this is the difference to me. Bisping was the little engine that could. Poirier, we've all been kind of waiting for that moment to get over the hump because he's been in the company with elites. Listen to this. This is from Andy Hickey MMA. You can follow him on Twitter. UFC 302 will be Dustin Poirier's 7th pay-per-view main event. This will set a promotional record for fighters that have never won the undisputed title. Listen to this, pay-per-view main events, right, where I'm going to go in order. Listen to these names. Randy Couture, Anderson Silva, John Jones, Tito Ortiz, George St. Pierre, Chuck Liddell, Izzy, BJ Penn, Rich Franklin, Connor, DC, Rashad Evans, Matt Hughes, Rampage, Stipe, Vitor Belfort, Amanda Nunes, Dustin Poirier, Jose Aldo, and Kamaru Usman. He is among the presence of people who have that one accolade he doesn't. This completes the puzzle, so to speak, in a way where Bisping's felt like a Hail Mary that just happened to work.
But a Hail Mary that validated a very good / great fighter and allowed him entry.
100%.
I think we already believe that Dustin is a very great fighter who just never, the cards just never went his way.
And he had really tough fights that were like uniquely bad matchups for him. The Oliveira and Khabib fights were really, really tough matchups. Let's play some of the sound, if we can here, that our guy Shaq got. Shouts to Shaq for not texting me this because I would have told him to go fuck himself.
Oh, okay. That's I mean, I know he's a big raver.
Part of this whole story, which makes this fight intriguing, BC, is this could be, we don't know, this might be the last time we
Did you see Islam ripping Poirier for basically doing the 1 foot in, 1 foot out?
All right, Cormier too. But he talked to Shaq about retiring. Let's see what he said.
Like, I have to do it this time because I'm not going to, get another chance. It's now or never next weekend. But I'm just in a good mental spot. I'm grateful and starting to be content with my career and my legacy. I'm just in a good spot and ready to fight. I feel like that's a position for me mentally that I'm very dangerous in.
Do you feel like it's do or die, now or never this coming weekend?
I know it never is because I'm capable of anything. I can climb back to this spot and fight again for the world title. I can do anything. I can grind back to it. I know I can. It's just I don't have it in me. I'm not going to do it again. I'm not going to climb the ladder again. I've been doing this a long time, and it's a very selfish sport. And I'm ready to be a father and be a husband and be home, and be into a routine. So I wouldn't say I can't do it again. I can do it again. This is it for me.
Will there be more fights after this? Should you not become the lightweight champ?
I'm not sure, man. This could be the last one.
Appreciate you sharing that. If you win, does that change the situation, or is it time to go be a dad regardless?
I'm still on the fence with win or lose. I just want to be content with my career.
Damn, powerful shit right there. First, I want to say this. I have so much respect for that man. Like don't overtake the harsh, like, man, I just can't find an angle to victory despite trying not to be that ignorant dude who says there's no chance that this happens. Do I want Poirier to win? Yes, I want him to finish the story. I think naturally, as a human, you almost should, because if you followed his story up and down like this, I love that he's vulnerable enough to show us the near tears in that moment, because pre-coping with the fact that it is almost over is enough to make him that emotional, because Luke, that's why we love his story this much, because he lives for this. He bleeds for this. He dies for this. Like, he has cultivated such a connection to the fan base through the ups and downs of his career. I mean, this might be the greatest story ever told if he does this. And he's got my vote on wanting him to do it. So I like to see the honesty and vulnerability there, because you only can be a Randy Couture-like person or a Dustin Poirier-like person if you have the ability to bounce back from the mental and physical damage that comes with defeats, Luke. I don't think people talk about that enough. Like when you lose, when you are expected to win, or when you build like he did the build of the Khabib fight, where the story was all about redemption and finally doing it, and then he didn't do it. And then he got built up for another chance against Oliveira, and he didn't do it, Luke, and he lost these badly. He lost these one-sidedly.
And
he
the
lost
BMF title, too.
Disappointingly, the BMF title head kick knockout. To be able to rebuild yourself constantly and still believe what he does believe, that I could do it again if I wanted to, meaning make another run back here. That's the testament to who he is, because you know he goes through darkness to get to there.
In fact, he talked to Shaq about that darkness. Let's hear what he had to say about battling depression.
What would be your advice to a fighter who probably could benefit from talking to a professional, but for whatever reason isn't willing to take that step?
I think for sure in the male side of a mixed martial arts competition, I'm not sure if it's the same as on the female side, but we feel like it's a weakness to admit we're going through something or to seek help because things don't feel right in between our ears. And it's not, it really isn't. You got to take care of yourself, and being prepared to fight and being your best. The mental space is part of that. It's all connected, and I went through a really down time where I was depressed and not in a good spot at all. And I have a wife and daughter looking at me at home, and I have to be there and be strong for them. So you put things in perspective, and I'm just thankful that I talked to the people I did, and I have a good people surrounding me back home who care about me and really help get me out of that place. And it's not like it's fixed. It's not like you turn a key in a lock and it's click, it's done. It's work every day. I have to practice this every single day. It's not a one time fixes all. I'm still dealing with it. I work through it every single day. It comes at different times, at different scenarios, different levels of stress, bring it out. But going through the repetitions and putting myself back in the right spot is something I practice every day.
Man, it's an American hero.
So I'm so happy to hear things like this rather than like, guys, if you feel bad about your life, shove your emotions down and then just do more stuff at work. Like, that is a recipe to being absolutely miserable, being a bad father, and being a bad husband. Fuck that. Like, go fix yourself.
Yeah.
That takes strength.
You're damn right. Damn right it does.
Same with BC dyeing his hair. He looks like a fool, but
I woke up the other day and there were no more grays up there. Luke, shoe polish Sizzin is back. I don't know. It was an impulse move. What do you think, Luke? It does make me look like at least 10 years younger, right?
I mean, listen, if you fool some people out there, I'm happy for you. You're not fooling me or the MK audience more generally.
Yeah, do the drapes match the okay, that's enough.
No, I don't care about your pubic hair. I want you to know that.
All right.
I want you to know that.
All right.
BC, let's let's talk about the co-main event here, which actually is a great fight.
Dude, I'm loving this card more by the day and hour. I'm telling you.
There's some charm to it. The co-main event absolutely has some. Sean Strickland is back after having lost his title UFC 297 to Dricus du Plessis. Somewhat controversial. Actually, I would say very controversially, depending on how you want to view it.
Disputed, not controversially, disputed.
Fair enough. Very disputed. I had DDP winning on first glance, and then upon subsequent glance, I thought Sean Strickland had it. Bohoshinia is back, having lost to Robert Whittaker, but also showing, I think, a little bit more maturity. Also,
a lot more.
This is the first time he's fighting twice in a calendar year since I think something like 2017. BC, when you think about how these two match up, and plus how they've kind of interacted in person, where Strickland looks like, and he's said it explicitly, I'm better than him and they know it. And Bohoshinia is going back to the secret juice bit. I mean, he needs a new bit. It's a good
well,
bit.
They both did. They both failed that press conference in my mind. And I know that, like,
you thought so?
Yeah, I thought Dustin won the press conference. I thought Islam came close.
Islam had some
zingers. He was confident. He was funny. He didn't give a F. But Costa just, like, so you had Strickland, who really wanted to portray this message, like he always does, that, like, fans, I'm only here because of you. I love you. I want to go bleed and die in there for you. And I'm not against that message, but he hammered it at home like 19 consecutive times. Every question, he'd be like, hold on, I just got to say one thing. And it's like, no, you've said that 17 other times. And then Costa was just like, I love New Jersey. This is great, right? Like, he just really tried hard to get the fans after him. It didn't work. But this fight is crazy, intriguing. Can I tell you why?
Tell me why.
On paper, Sean Strickland's right. When you look at the metrics, the game that they have, the fact that, say what you will about Strickland, every time he goes in there against the elite, he continues to level up and evolve and be even more dynamic and dangerous as the stakes rise. He rebounded himself, Luke, from a devastating knockout loss to Poatan that could have ended his run as a title contender. I mean, he's not young at all either. But Luke, even though he's supposed to win this fight when you match them up, and even though Costa's entering, having lost 3 out of 4 against very great, or is it 4 out of 5 even?
I'll double check.
Against very good competition, the true elite of the elite, I actually think you have to look at where their stocks are actually at and going closely in a fight that has the potential to be this close. And Luke, within a stretch in which I believe he has lost 4 of 5, and there were some stretches in there where we almost give him negative credit for beating Rockhold because he allowed it to become such a bloody brawl. And I think even in the immediate aftermath of his very bad loss to Adesanya and the public image of the wine, which I'll give him credit for turning all of that into secret juice, and he's riding the bit till it's going to die, and I'm in the middle of the desert. Luke, he back then, I was like, he's never going to fight for a title. He's never going to max out because
3 of the last 4.
3 of his last 4, because he's too willing, I thought, to get in brawls and not lean on anything. that has changed. You got to give the coach, the captain, credit. Eric Albarracin seems to be a very strong influence in the corner in the last few fights, that even largely in defeats, because again, the one win in that stretch is Rockhold, but you almost take a lot away from him for why that fight became like that. Luke, he is improving and maturing and gaining patience and finding new ways to add wrinkles that I think only illuminate more the true strength he brings in, which is knockout power in both hands and both feet. That Luke, even though Strickland should win this fight, and boy, does he have a lot of reason to, because he's going to get a huge money fight if he wins this, whether a rematch with Dricus in Australia for the title, he could get a fight with Izzy for all we know in a rematch. I mean, there's a lot of bit, what if Bo Nickal's ready eventually soon to make some big step up?
Whitaker Ham's out later this month.
So there's a lot that could be at stake. But the one things that Strickland used to do against Poatan before he tightened that up, and then we saw a different Strickland in the Izzy and DDP fights where he was so dialed in. Look, there's still part of him that loves a little bit too much being in a war. And I think if he takes the type of strikes that he's willing to at times to get his offense off against this version of Costa, who I think is going to be a little bit more explosive and dynamic than maybe even Strickland is going to think he is, because I think his stock is rising. This might be the perfect storm for Costa to crash the title picture, get a huge finish win here, and maybe Luke, get close to not only making a second run at the title, but maxing himself out. I believe, I low-key believe in the stock of where Paulo Costa is going right now, that yes, maybe 4 out of 5 times he's going to lose this, but Luke, will Saturday be that one time that he lands that big one? It's not like I'm seeing warning signs from Strickland, but they laid it out at the press conference. John Anik, the host, confirmed it. There's so much more at stake here for Costa. For Strickland, it's more about just, defense and control, even though it's not the mindset he's bringing in. He says, look, we're going to bang into each other and have a bloody war. But it's more like prevent defense to maintain his status atop the division, where Costa has so much more to gain. He can almost erase that streak of 3 losses in 4 fights with one big one and could be on the doorstep of a monster freaking fight. And Luke, if he is doing more things in line of taking his strengths, but being more judicial in how he presents them, Strickland standing so close to you all the time is certainly great slipping punches, but he may walk into something big, or he may be too close for something really big here. That if this becomes that bloody war that Strickland wants it to be, Luke, you can't have those type of fights against guys who have drastically bigger weapons than you. I think in this matchup, Costa has drastically bigger weapons than Strickland, and I think it's going to play a factor.
I mean, this is a really interesting fight for me from an X's and O's standpoint. I think in addition to everything you're saying, which I certainly agree with and echo, I would also add one, people are losing sight of something. This fight is 5 rounds. That could be a very important thing to think about. Here's why. Everyone focuses on the fact that Costa lost to Whitaker, and here's another great A-level guy he lost to. But he had showed significant maturity relative to what we had seen previously in that fight. To your point, Captain Eric Albarracin, I think, can continue to help him elevate in that space. But more importantly, if you look at the career of Sean Strickland, and his fans don't really want to admit this, but it's true. He's got obviously everyone knows this, a very defense-heavy style. But why? Part of the reason why is he puts the traffic up there and he maintains the right distance and he's doing push kicks. But the other one, BC, is the backpedaling. Remember, he'll put his head behind his hips and just backpedal out of the way, throwing traffic and whatnot. And the reason why that's important is because it makes him very hard to track down. It makes him very hard to hit. His defense, there really isn't hardly any question about it. It's a little unorthodox, but he's proven against Izzy, against even DDP, proved that it can work really, really well. But what's the problem with it? The problem is if my head is behind my hips and I'm backpedaling, I can never counter.
Right.
And so he ends up having these fights like the Izzy one wasn't that way, but the Cannonier fight and the Dricus fight, where, yes, in the end, upon a second viewing, I did think that he won, but he's making them close because there's not much offense going back. Now you've got a guy in Bohoshinia who you know is going to track you down, who you know is going to follow you. I really want to see a guy. I don't know if he's going to get back to former champ status. I wouldn't rule it out, but it's hard to say. But in terms of technical evolution, you've got Eric Nixick in your corner. You've got Extreme Couture facilities and training partners, and you can tell, dude, Strickland cares about his craft. I want to see if he can raise his game to put a little bit more offense against, I'm not going to say tailor-made, but the right kind of opponent to intercept who's following you.
If he does that, he can win this fight somewhat handily.
I agree.
But I still wonder if, for as great as his run to the title was, and I give him full credit, I mean, he snake charmed Izzy. I never, ever, ever, ever thought I would see that,
Yeah,
right?
I mean, so I'm the
And
same.
then goes in there and quite nearly, literally down to a point, nearly defended his title against DDP in a very tough fight. I just wonder, can he do this again? Because it's almost like he goes out there and throws a no-hitter in a way, Luke. You know what I'm saying? And it's defensive in everything you're saying. Maybe sometimes there's not enough offense in there to kind of leave no doubt. If he leaves this a close fight and leaves Costa the opportunity to land something big, like he's so great at shutting down sustained offense. Like Izzy needs to build upon his offense to be able to knock you out. Izzy doesn't have a lot. I mean, the Whitaker was a one-punch knockout, but he also
Whitaker
set
was
that up
overcommitted,
beautifully.
and he leaned back and just crushed him with it.
I
yeah.
fear more him fighting a single strike knockout artist like Costa is, because he really only has to get lucky that one time.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like wouldn't be the type of fight that 4 out of 5 times do I think he can get his hand raised. No, I just wonder if the timing is right and where Strickland's exactly going to be at mentally, emotionally. Is he going to take this as serious as he needs to?
I think he will. We actually have some sound I want to play from him as well. Let me say something. I've heard this clip before the show. Again, Shaq texts me and I'm just like, block every time, right? It's great. But he did this interview and he got a piece of sound from Strickland that is the most insightful thing I think he's ever said, and I agree with every single word about it.
When he was talking about Justin Trudeau?
No, I didn't hear that one. Well, he did talk about happiness. This, I thought, was extremely correct by him. Super insightful. Let's hear it.
Your sort of self-validation was tied so much to the letters UFC prior to your motorcycle accident, and how during that time dealing with the recovery, you kind of just figured out like this isn't the end all be all.
But I mean, that's what like society does. Like, they have you pursue something that you think you want just to realize like, oh, that's not really what makes you happy. I always use like Andrew Tate and even like that Dan Brazilian guy, like, because they are like influencers in the world. And like generally, if you idolize people like this, you're just going to end up like miserable and depressed, and that's kind of like how it was with UFC. Like I idolized the idea of being a camera, being a fighter. Like it was my pride. I wanted to be famous. And then you start realizing, man, like that doesn't make you happy. It's like what makes you happy is generally doing the right things, like, being good to your woman, living a good life, not being a shitbag. And these are all very difficult things to accomplish. But like generally it's leads to like more of a long-term happiness and more success.
Look, he doesn't always, get it wrong if you're on the side that I tend to be on a lot of things that he says publicly, Luke. He does sort of, like he's almost, when he's talking in this vein, sort of the anti-hero that UFC needs. We sometimes look at like the Diaz brothers as anti-heroes because it's, middle finger everything and we're not going to stand in line like you want us to. But it's not every topic with Strickland, because he's going to be honest and rail against whatever he believes, and he believes firmly in each one. And there's a lot of things that I think, man, is he heavy-handed or just absurd or a problem in speaking publicly? But some of these things that he's able to point out about everyday life, it's almost like dirtbag philosopher in a way. But he's not wrong. I don't think he's
not
wrong in the way he looks at
he is not wrong
his
at
connection
all.
to the employer. We're going to have him talking about fighter pay in a minute. I don't think he's wrong on a lot of these things. And I think I would almost like him to use his powers for good more. And I do think he's growing as a person from this process. I do think what he said at Thursday's press conference was true when he thanked the fans, saying like, this has allowed me to sort of grow up and not be, as much of a danger to myself. And I mean, we're watching him evolve to a certain degree. I'm not ready to, nominate him for a Pulitzer Prize or
Yeah, me neither. But I will say something like
a
he
Peace Prize.
I think through this process of fighting and through winning and losing and then forming a community at Extreme Couture, he's learning who he is and he's learning what actually matters in the world. And I think again, I don't know the guy, but he seems to prefer a simpler life. And again, working on his craft, being part of the small circle that he has and just kind of keeping it that way. I think that's probably going to be good for him long term.
He said on Countdown that after his career is over, he's going to find a small town and just live a regular,
And there's one thing he said that I really just want to stop and take a moment to like be like so true. When he says like, you have to do the right things. You have to be good to he says woman, but your partner. You have to be good to the people around you. You have to try. He goes, these are not easy things to do. I'm so glad that he said that. People make it out to be that like being a good person and being a good husband or being a good partner or being a good friend, that these are things that are easy to do all the time. And the older you get, the more you realize it's actually quite difficult. It's not so hard necessarily to know what those things are, although sometimes that can be the case. But just to live I have to wake up every day. How do I be good to you? How do I be good to BD? How do I be good to my wife and my kid and myself and the people around me? Like a day
And
after
the
day.
members of our staff that trade Trump coin, how do you be good for them? You know,
Sell.
Yeah.
They're gonna make a lot of money. Sometimes I come here and I take a dump in the no dump bathroom. You know, I'm not always.
We have video proof of that, just in case we need it. Yeah.
I'm not always being my best self, but I have thought about this exact thing about, dude, living a good life, an appropriate life, is hard. It is not easy.
Do you think over a beer, without cameras there, by a fire with Sean Strickland, we could come to some middle ground as men?
Yeah, I just don't think gay people should be stoned to death. That's
Okay.
really where
Okay,
I
there you
part
go,
ways
there
with
you
him.
go.
You know what I mean?
All right.
I think they're people, and they should be treated as people.
Well,
But,
he
okay.
can be your hero or your enemy based on the day. I mean, he's standing up to UFC, standing up to a lot of people. But Luke, when I look at this card, and if I was looking at it from a betting point of view, I'm taking Makhachev by 3rd round submission
Wow.
and Costa by 4th round stoppage.
What?
I'm going for like the Hail Mary parlay here.
No.
It's not a Hail Mary in the main event because it's certainly the expected breakdown of how this fight is going to go. I think though that Poirier does tap out, unfortunately, a 3rd time in a title fight because of who he's facing. I think Costa can pull this off. Where are you at on this co-main event if you had to make a lean? Because
So
it is close.
My main event pick is identical to yours. Islam 3rd round sub. I'm gonna say Strickland by decision. I am gonna say that. I don't think he's got the firepower to put Costa away. I think Costa can make this very tricky. Very, very by the way, it's not that if Costa fails this test, you can just write him off. But if he passes this test, it's a huge boost. He doesn't have a win this good on his resume by a million miles. And if he makes it exciting, a loss is kind of forgivable too, because it's just hard to do that. But the problem is Strickland just finds ways to put the fight on his terms. So it's a big test for Paulo Costa.
Paulo's got to make it a fight, which Strickland will oblige you in terms of the distance. He just won't oblige you in terms of the open target. Costa's got to,
even with the distance, he won't necessarily oblige you.
Down,
but I agree. It's a highly intriguing one. I'm going to say Strickland via decision, but it's a tough one. Okay. By the way, 5 rounds one more time as a reminder. Quickly on the rest of this card, if I can.
Well, hold on before we get there, Luke. When we're talking about the idea of parlays and
right.
bundling things together, and how about parlaying great partnerships together? I think you have something to say about that.
Yeah, well, so we've got a partnership here that we're extremely happy and proud of, and it's that partnership with DraftKings. By the way, you can catch the show every Monday, 5 p.m. on the DraftKings
You might
Network.
be watching it right now.
As a matter of fact. So shouts to everyone on the DraftKings Network. Shouts to DraftKings, our partner here with everything. So BC, as I mentioned, we've teamed up with DraftKings. Everyone knows that. We want to thank them for sponsoring us. Here's what we're going to do. New customers get a no sweat bet up to $1,500.
So they have to just download the DraftKings Sportsbook.
That's right.
app.
You got to get the DraftKings Sportsbook. I think it's new customers. So you're going to get a bonus bet back in the amount of your original bet if the first bet doesn't hit. Minimum $5 deposit, right? Okay.
You need a promo code, I believe.
Yeah. By the way, I think why don't you do the read, because I think Craig just texted me. Yeah.
All right.
he
Craig
did.
Jones to come shortly. But to finish this off, as Luke mentioned, you want a no sweat bet up to $1,500 with a $5 deposit. Download DraftKings Sportsbook. Enter our code MK. That's it. 2 letters, MK. And you will get that opportunity. You talk about bonus bets, Luke, putting $5 down for the opportunity at a no sweat bet up to $1,500. Let's say maybe you're like me. You think Costa could upset the middleweight apple cart by knockout. There's an opportunity to do that. Show your knowledge, show what you know. New customers only, Luke. And if sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy and have the shot to win cash prizes. We love this partnership with DraftKings. Don't miss your chance this weekend. Use that promo code MK at UFC 302. And remember, the crown is you.
Very good. Thank you for that. I texted Craig. We'll get him here pretty soon. So that should be a lot of fun. BC, if we can quickly go through the rest of this main card. By the way, they moved Gelton Almeida versus Alexander Romanov off the main card, put it on the prelims. They elevated the Nico Price versus Alex Moreno fight. I don't hate the call one way or the other.
It's interesting because they prioritize heavyweights on the main card always with all these fight night co-main
Romanov
events.
showed up not looking great.
So the thing is, Luke, he's been doing that on like 4 or 5 fights in a row,
He's
which
got
he's
personal
shuffled.
issues, yeah.
Yeah, what is going on? Because when he's in shape, he's a much different fighter than the guy that we've seen implode and fall apart, put it back together, but not fully. What do you know about this?
I don't know exactly everything that's going on in his personal life, but it is derailing a guy who had a lot of ability and I think a lot of promise.
A
And
power wrestler.
and power, and still might. I don't
Yeah.
want to say he doesn't, but it definitely puts in a weird position. Jelton Almeida also didn't do himself any favors in that Curtis Blades fight, just kind of chasing takedowns that weren't really all that there, or opposition that wasn't.
That's
or
a good ass fight though, Almeida versus Romanov. I mean, this would be Almeida's bounce back
It's a great fight.
opportunity.
Well, you think
from
unless
the Derek
Romanov is really just shit the bed.
I mean, it has a lot of lay and pray potential here, but
Okay. Either way, Kevin Holland is back against Michel
Michal.
Oleksiejczuk. Kevin Holland kind of been up and down. He wins 2, he loses 2,
Yeah.
he wins 2, he loses 2. This is the kind of opponent that in the past, who, by the way, Oleksiejczuk, we should also say, I think 12, 13 fights into the UFC has also been very up and down. Kevin Holland should win this. And of course, some of the losses have been on short notice. Then there was the one to Hamzat. There's been a lot of like he fights tough guys. It's not like he fights scrubs. I feel like he should win this one.
Yeah,
I can just never guarantee that he will.
He's almost on a Rose type cycle that Pat Barry used to say that, you know, she's going to win 3 and then she's going to lose badly in the 4th and it's just going to keep going like that in his career. He should win this based on that trajectory of sort of the 2 wins, 2 losses, and they're always in the extreme last minute scenario or fought the wrong style and lured himself into a war. This is the get right fight, and I think it's the get right opponent. Now, Michel Oleksiejczuk certainly could win an Al Ferran impersonation contest. Look, impersonating an impersonator. There'd be a lot of. All right, guess I'm alone here. So what I'll say though, Luke, is Holland needs to kind of go back to what originally when he cut down to welterweight. What I loved about what he brought to this division, the weight cut didn't sacrifice what he can do on the ground. And Luke, when he's taking guys down, I feel like it makes his striking and his one punch knockout ability so much. It fuels it so much more. I think this is a fight where he won't have trouble on the ground when he goes there, and I think he can knock out Michel Oleksiejczuk and remind us of ourselves who he is. I mean, look, he gets brought around for ideas of big fights. His name gets thrown around a lot, whether it's to test somebody on the way up or
Kevin Holland back at 185 for this too, by the way.
This is one. That's right. It is 185. So
which I don't love, but
is that going to make him? What do you think how will that inform his wrestling choices?
I don't think he's going to want to wrestle too much. He might grab that Darce if Oleksiejczuk gets a little froggy. That's always a thing he can do.
But he's more skilled. He should win this.
That's exactly right. He should win this. This is the kind of guy who is a good test, but Holland has a lot of ability in a lot of different areas. It's not just striking. Yeah. I guess we're going to have to see. Nico Price, who has also been, I think, very more down than up, is back after a long layoff at 170 pounds against the kind of semi-surging Alex Moreno, who's, I think, done a lot to maximize his potential.
Yes.
Moreno going to be a little bit more crafty, safe Saud student, so you know he's going to be looking to like really outthink Nico Price, who is a bit of a barbarian, which we say affectionately, but really it is true. He'll take a lot of risk along the way.
He's 1-4 with 1 no contest, Nico Price, in his last 6 fights, Luke, and he's lost 2 in a row. But I follow him, one of my favorite guys to watch in sort of a fun and entertainment way. Luke, the interviews he was giving ahead of the last few fights were more in the direction of, I know I have this brawling, explosive ability, but I got to kind of rein it in. Luke, he's changed that after the recent defeats. Do you know what he said now? That every single fight, he's going to go balls to the wall. He's going to bring it. We're going to see the old school crazy man, Nico Price. Some would say that guy never left, Luke, but he's telling you he'll be back. Is that enough? Is that enough to get his hand raised here?
I don't know. Also, I think he's got the Antonio Cromartie thing. I think he's got like 1 billion kids. That can be tough to deal with.
Let him spray. Just let him spray, okay? Please. Luke, do you care about Grant Dawson coming back here at lightweight against Joe Solecki?
I think he got derailed in terms of his progress. This is a big one. Also, don't forget, last fight on the main card is going to be the Randy Brown, Elijah Zaleski dos Santos fight, which should be a great striking battle. I don't really know where it puts the winner, but
indeed,
it should be fun.
We are also seeing an aftermarket Mickey Gall trying to keep his career alive on home soil.
Dude, that Basil Hafez fight, that guy is a fucking hammer.
But don't you know a lot about this Eileen Perez, Jocelyn Edwards fight? Not just with the potential for twerking post-fight, but don't these two like blood hate each other from an incident?
Well, Edwards had a fight with Eileen and her coach.
And she got choked out in the process.
Yeah, and so this is
like
the UFC looked at like real human trauma and was like, we got to make a fight around that.
I love usually the fight that they put in as the second fight on the card is usually a women's matchup that gets me up in the morning, and not for the reasons you think. Look, there is juicy storyline in here.
Jake Matthews, who hates it when MMA media tries to get fighter pay improved, is back against Phil Rowe.
He should fight Sam Alvey, actually.
Who, by the way, took on
loser doesn't get paid. It'd be great, right? All right. Hey,
who's taking on Phil Rowe, who had a karate combat grappling
Yes.
match against our next guest.
He got choked out against the side, the angled side walls there.
Which I found out, having prepped for this interview, that he was encouraged to do that by the karate combat promoter, like get a submission off of the side of the surface.
But it wasn't rigged. It was like if you
No,
get
no,
a
not
chance,
rigged, but like if you get the chance, like see
Okay.
if you can do that.
Dude, people are anxious to see us interview Craig Jones. Anxious.
All right, so we still have to do some UFC news.
We can catch it on the back.
I
end
understand,
if
and we also have to we have to set up the Wilder and Big Bang Zhang fight.
Yes.
But I think he's here, so we could probably get this going if we're ready. Oh, 1 second.
1 second. All right.
We'll get him going. But let's set this up. Craig Jones, famous grappler, one of the most famous grapplers in jiu-jitsu in the world.
It's fair to say arguably the best grappler in the world, or no?
No, I don't think it's fair to say that. He's sort of, I mean, the B team is sort of called that for a reason.
He's a major part of the grappling scene as a ambassador, now promoter,
and also
competitor.
something of an innovator too.
Yes.
Something of an innovator as well.
Innovator of
Innovator, I should say.
Innovator. Yes.
Innovator. So he was going to do ADCC, the most prestigious grappling tournaments, but certainly in Nogi, but maybe overall in jiu-jitsu, and instead decided, you know what? Why don't we just do
A
not
lot
that?
of no spears.
Let's
Why don't
do-
we just do a lot of no
Let's
spears?
do a lot of
right?
drugs.
Yeah.
And set up his own tournament, the Craig Jones Invitational, which is going to take place on the same Friday and Saturday in Las Vegas.
August 16th and 17th.
Now, if you wanted to watch ADCC on Sunday, you can do that. The Craig Jones Invitational will be over, but it's going to be at the Thomas and Mack Center. This is a real thing.
Live on YouTube. Luke.
When I booked this interview, I actually messaged Craig, and I'm like, you bullshitting? Like, is this real? He's like, it's real. So let's go ahead and bring him in. I think he's got an Argentina soccer jersey on.
Yes, Australia's finest. The funniest man in combat sports,
There he
by
is.
the way, Luke.
There he is.
Oh, our fine team putting things
I'd
together.
stand up, but I'm too rude.
Craig Jones, thank you for joining us by popular demand for the show. Okay. Oh yeah, nothing a double leg couldn't figure out. I wanted to find out if that was true. I mean, what if I just
zing.
do people ever just shoot on you, Craig? I was more talking about your love life, but that's all right. You know, yeah, okay, there you go.
All right, we're setting him up here.
We're gonna get him a chair too, I'm sure.
Yeah, let's get him a chair. There was a dog earlier in the studio. It's mayhem.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take
Luke-
my glasses
yeah.
off. Here we are. There we are.
Oh yeah.
We both have birds tattooed on our forearms. Very clever. Very clever. Yeah, there he is.
Here's some fluids if you need it, Craig.
And there we are. Does he have headphones? Does he need them? I don't know if he needs them. Does it matter?
It's up to
Up to you. You want headphones? All right. Nice to see you, Craig. How are you? Jesus. Hold on. Let's turn you up here a little bit.
Promoter life.
Can we
now,
hear
Craig.
him? Y'all can hear him good? How's he sound? Go ahead and talk, Craig.
Can you guys hear me? How we sound?
Oh,
There we
yeah,
go.
there
Now
it
we're
is.
cooking with gas. All right. Very good.
I mean, it's been chaos, you know, non-stop phone calls to grapplers. That's very challenging as it is to hear them talk, let alone having to be the middleman between them.
I heard you saying, like, on Rogan that you just don't even want to hang out with the jiu-jitsu guys because they're fucking weirdos.
They are a little weird, to be honest. You
It's
know,
very
They're not
true.
gonna be
They're
hitting
very
the-
weird.
You know,
the
we
bar
have
from
an
people.
agenda here, but I mean, I got Craig Jones in the studio. Does cauliflower ear get you laid more or less? I've always wondered.
That's a good question.
It's like a badge
I think they
to
think
some
you're-
sort.
I think most women think
Depends who you're banging,
Yeah.
right?
I think they think you're disabled, you know. So they're like,
Oh wow! All right. You know.
All right, let's talk about this. Let's set this up, Craig. There's a lot to get to, but let's start with the biggest news item if we can. I was hoping you were going to bring the $1 million. I was going to fucking put a cooker in your face and take it. But that aside,
That's DC talk.
that's DC talk.
Yeah.
The Craig Jones Invitational. I messaged you, being like, dude, is this fucking real? And he was like, it's real. Okay. This is now the 87th podcast you've done this week, so I know it's real.
hopefully, yeah.
The whole aim of it is what? Is to get more pay out of ADCC, because it can't be to make a profitable event. It's not possible to do that.
This is the equivalent of putting on an MMA event in Vegas against the UFC on the same night as the pay per
We're
view.
gonna put that
Right?
mic
I mean,
a
this
little
is-
Are we a bit
Yeah.
closer?
Yeah.
I mean, have you seen the Curb Your Enthusiasm episode about the petty store?
No.
I have not.
Watch that. That'll give you a bit of insight into it. Right? But no, I mean, I think it's just to grow the sport, grow grappling. You know, we're taking all the ticket sales, giving it to charity. We're just trying to do something good here. Put it free on YouTube. I think grappling's hard enough to watch for free, let alone behind a paywall. So we've got to at least remove that paywall to get some eyes on this.
Well, at least
sport.
High Rollers instituted a reason to get involved. you
That's
know?
true. Yeah, I mean, we're not giving away a pound of weed. We're giving away a pound of nose bourbon.
Did you ever go into the High Rollers place in Vegas?
No, I haven't actually. I'm not into the downers. I'm into more of the uppers.
No. See, I'm not into the uppers. I'm into the downers. Big time.
All right.
I
I mean,
can't-
maybe at the end of the night for me.
If you go to we went to the High Rollers thing, and Apache Mix had a match there, and some other ones. Dude, when you walk in, they had a bucket, a fucking bucket of just pre-rolls and like all encased.
All you can handle. All
and
you
it
can
was
grab.
like, just take as much as you want. We got high as fuck.
That
up
gives
in
me
there.
anxiety. That gives me anxiety. I can't speak if I start smoking. Too
Really?
late. Start second guessing.
I start
myself.
hosting podcasts when I do. It's great. Yeah.
What has been the response privately, not publicly, privately, to what you've been doing in jiu-jitsu?
I mean, it's a mixed bag. I would say 99% overwhelmingly positive. A few death threats in there, but
All right,
mostly good.
but you mean real threats to get out of this space? You're on my corner, or else.
I mean, there has been some very angry, upset people, obviously, but
Who's the
I
most
mean,
pissed off?
I don't want to say they might come through with their threats,
Oh, I see. Okay.
Now, obviously, people are going to be angry at putting on the same weekend, basically. But for the fans, they can go to our event Friday, Saturday, and they can go watch the ADCC finals on Sunday. And you know what? I'm a very generous guy. I don't want to completely disrupt their event. Whoever wins ADCC Worlds this year will get an invite to my event next year. It'll become a qualifier.
That's big of you. That's big of you.
Well, like when the ABA disrupted and professional American basketball, they ended up merging with the NBA. When the AFL ended up merging with the professional NFL in the States. Is your goal to merge down the line and make grappling at the highest level even better? Or are you just like, we can do it better than you? We can get paid more. We can get better exposure. So it's time to teach class.
I don't think we need them. I don't think we need anyone else in this space. I think we don't need them to help us out here. It seems like everyone's jumping ship as it is. I think it's obviously going to end up being the new wave invitational, the new wave open mat, but I think we're going to do fine by ourselves.
How many competitors? Okay, so there's 2 weight classes, right? Above 80, below 80 kilos. How many do you want in each division?
We're going to fill 16 places in each division. $1 million, winner takes all. $10,001 to show up. Other events pay $10,000 to win. We threw in the extra $1. And we're going to fill it up. And my dream is really, I always come second place. So I was like, fuck paying second place anything. It's $10,001 or $1 million. So for me, you better use some of that $10K for health insurance because no one's tapping in that final.
No, I don't suspect that they would. And is it a little bit weird? Like, someone was asking me, like, oh, there's just really no way that someone who is like, how big does Nicky Ryan walk around?
I mean, he changes shapes every 3 minutes. Right now, though,
That means
honestly,
he's
don't know.
reptilian, Luke. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
He's-
gets broad, he gets skinny. I don't know what he weighs right now, but he'd be perfect for the 80 kilo.
What the fuck? Oh, here we go. Is this your guy?
Yeah.
Oh, what's going on, dude? I didn't even know he was there.
Yeah.
He fucking snuck up on me like a ninja.
That's racist because it's in the dark.
Well, okay. I was focusing on you. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking around.
That's why I turned the light on now.
You wouldn't have had the takedown defense Anthony Smith did during an invasion. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, careful now.
Okay.
How many people do you have signed, booked? It's in.
Signed. Only like 5 to 6 each division. We're waiting for a couple key players that are in negotiations right now that are doing gi worlds. And those guys said to me, fuck off, and I'll talk to you next week.
Gi Worlds is when?
I think it's this weekend, yeah.
Where is that?
That is in California at the Pyramid. I don't know, somewhere in
Dude,
California.
it's so weird. 15 years ago, Gi Worlds was where all the A grapplers went. I guess they still do to an extent.
I think so.
But it was the most important. I mean, ADCC was important, but it was still a little
I like
bit.
that. Was important. Yeah.
Say again?
I like how you said ADCC was important. I'm taking that.
Well, okay, but like, I mean, so here's the thing. You're like, oh, I don't want to get sideways with ADCC. How do you not get sideways? Because if you get 16 in each division, that means you're going to drain from ADCC, which means that the value of that title this year, it's not insignificant, but it's certainly not going to be what it once was. I don't see how they take kindly to that.
I mean, I really do a lot of things that offend a lot of people, but it's basically I'm giving the athletes a choice, giving them a choice, giving them another platform. They're free to make their decision. Other events out there sometimes forget to get guys on contracts, so it left a bit of a void in the market that I could do something like this. Because I would imagine, no matter what industry it is, if you were putting on an event and investing potentially millions of dollars in it, the stars of that show or should probably be signed to a contract. But that's just me.
And the investor is who?
Yeah, I mean, if you really want to know, I've got my fingers in a lot of things. So one of the things I've been developing, engineering, if you will, is reinventing sunglasses. I want you to see if you guys can identify the special feature built into this.
Oh, wow. Do you think it's cocaine?
Is this like an X-ray thing?
No. It's not the lenses.
Oh, wow.
But you were on you were on the right track.
Oh, wow.
Let me see.
You gotta find where he hides the heroin in those, Luke.
Have you guys ever needed both
What am I looking
sunglasses and a little spoon at the same time?
Wait. I don't see it. This is so you can.
Yeah, Luke, you can.
As an athlete, I have to monitor my sugar intake. And I wouldn't want to have too big a spoon.
Look at the name tag there. I mean, that is just so good.
We gave you a great lower third there if you could.
Nose beer enthusiast, that's for sure. That's
we have a
representing
rotating
Maradona
series
here.
of these.
I take a
Yeah,
page.
he's honoring Maradona right here, Luke.
Why can't you tell me who the investor is?
Why?
Why?
Because anyone that gets money gets asked for money. Anyone that has money gets asked for money.
Okay, Ariel thinks it's at Zuck.
Listen,
That absolute nerd.
Zuck's getting a lot of credit for this shit. He better put some money in. So, you know,
So it's not him.
it's not Zuck.
Okay. Have you talked to him about this?
I actually haven't spoken to him about it.
Okay.
But I should maybe throw
I
some.
think he could. I mean, $1 million to that guy is.
He's going to make himself compete in it like Foxcatcher style, though.
That would be cool. I'd throw it to him, you know? He invested it. If he invested.
Fuck it. Who cares at this point, right?
Yeah.
He was asking me if you're the best grappler in the world, and I was trying to be like reverential, but I don't think that's. I don't think I can say that.
What should be said about your grappling reputation?
Listen, that's what I tell women and they believe it. And that's the story I'm sticking to. Who's the best grappler in the world?
No, what do you think you should be called? And when we're trying to present in one sentence what you mean to grappling.
I represent myself like a lot of OnlyFans models do. I'm a young entrepreneur.
Selling that butthole.
I'll sell anything, you know? Obviously, we sell the spoons, we sell the body, we sell underwear, whatever it takes
Are
to
you on
push the
OnlyFans?
sport forward. I used to be.
Okay.
Does your sunglass company make one with a bong in it? Because Luke would be all over there. Or vape at the end, you know?
Something like that would be nice, yeah. I mean, it's
one
something
end
new.
vape, the other to just kind of itch the
That's
asshole.
you.
Luke.
That's all you,
You
buddy.
could use a spoon for that.
Yeah, there you go.
I just wouldn't use it twice.
When's the next big announcement about who you got coming in the tournament?
I was actually just speaking to a big Brazilian just now on the phone. I can't confirm his place.
Antonio
Yeah?
Bigfoot Silva. Yes.
I mean, it could be. Nah, I don't know. But I'm speaking to guys now. We're trying to pace the announcements. But in the today and yesterday, I've secured a legend of the past, and today probably a future legend.
Can you tell us who the legend of the past is?
Sadly, not.
When you say past, how far back are we talking?
Still active, but not in jiu-jitsu.
Well, that sounds like Demi and Maya to me.
It's not, but I won't.
Is that a
I
good
won't,
guess?
There's not too many guesses. I'll give you that, but you're on the right track.
I've been curious to see if he would ever get back into it. I would love to. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's on the table.
Maybe
but
Hickson by armbar. Maybe.
Hickson's got Parkinson's.
Parkinson's, yeah.
Oh, I'll take that back. I'll just,
Yeah.
I'll just forget I
Just
said
rewind that
that
shit.
out loud.
You're like, yeah, why isn't Freddie Roach taking any celebrity boxing matches? I don't know, BC. Why? Why? You
I'm just
fucking
going to go
idiot.
back to the caffeinated water over
Yeah.
there. Yeah, there we go.
You used to live in New York, right?
Yeah, I lived here for maybe 2 years, trained at the Blue Basement.
Where did you live in New York?
I lived around. I was in Harlem for a while, I was in Brooklyn for a while, and I ultimately ended up over in Hoboken.
Okay, rate New York 1 to 10. What is it?
One.
A fucking one? Get the fuck out! How is it a 1?
Get the fuck out! I'm trying to. I hate this place. Nah.
I mean, it's dirty as shit.
There's
It's
human
true.
feces every single time we go to the.
How do you
the
identify
local subway
that
stop.
it's human?
Say again?
How do you know so well that it's human?
Okay, I can't guarantee it, but the amount is so copious.
The
It would have to
flav-
be a gigantic dog.
The flavor, the texture, the smell. I don't know.
It's just the amount.
Big dog.
Why didn't you like New York?
There's too many people here. You know, I
I
like a
agree
bit of
with
peace
you.
and quiet. Like I'm trying to sleep, homeless people screaming at me. You know.
That's why
Difficult.
I'm in New York suburb. It's called Connecticut. You know, just gotta get away a little bit, Luke. You know?
That is the feces.
Luke,
that I see.
meanwhile, lives in like downtown DC. Like you're
I
right.
don't live downtown.
Kind of.
I can't afford downtown. No, I don't live downtown. It's very expensive.
You need an anonymous $1 million donor like me to get into the downtown.
We got to talk to that guy because I want to get the fuck out. It'd be great. It'd be nice. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about this tournament. So we saw you on Ariel's show, and there was an issue about whether or not you were going to have a match with Gabby Garcia.
Which
Done
is the
deal.
most genius idea.
Was that
ever.
resolved?
Yeah, done deal.
So there's
Done deal.
she's not doing ADCC.
Not doing ADCC.
Okay. And by the way, contractually, if you do the CGI, you're contractually
CJI.
forbidden.
CJI. Luke.
CJI, excuse me, CJI. You're contractually forbidden from doing ADCC?
Oh, well, you just couldn't do any other event that could potentially interfere with our event.
I see. Just from a calendar perspective.
Yeah, from a calendar. Probably. I mean, you usually do like a 2-week window, 4-week window before, but realistically, for the big events, no athlete's going to try and compete close. Like, no one would compete 2 weeks before ADCC historically, because they might risk injury for ADCC.
Have the guys from Danaher messaged you about this at all?
I mean, we're not on talking terms, you know? Like,
Yeah, but you guys are always talking about each other on social media. That's actually not quite true, right?
well, unfortunately, it's one-way traffic. They stopped talking about me.
Oh, they did?
But I can't help myself, you know? I cannot help myself.
But so none of them, like not even the satellite people, have commented about any of this?
No, and that's probably concerning, you know? Like, they're probably
Why?
plotting something, you know?
Oh.
They should throw something my way. I mean, obviously, Gordon's busy. It's hard regurgitating Fox News articles every 3 minutes, you know? That's not easy. That takes time, effort, and thought.
That man battled serious health scares.
I think he still is, right?
Yeah.
What's his status? Do you know?
I don't know.
Is he still doing ADCC?
He's still doing ADCC. Yeah, I think he's doing Super Fight and something else, allegedly. But I mean, obviously, I'm out of the loop.
Yeah.
They don't ask me my opinion, clearly.
If Mo Jassim, who is the guy who basically is behind ADCC, if he hit you up for a meeting, would you take it?
I would want to do it in public, you know? He keeps being like, hey, let's meet, let's talk privately. I'm like, why? Obviously, this is an issue for the fans and the athletes.
Look, we
Let's
can get a
do
fourth
okay.
chair in here if you can get Mo down here.
I messaged him today.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I don't know.
Messing for a statement. Nah, he wants to do it privately. I'm like, I got nothing if I can talk about privately. Let's just air it to the fans.
Is this like on the one hand, the message of CJI is like, let's uplift, let's promote the sport, let's get some money. And I think everyone in that sense, especially because it's just disrupting the order, is really very intrigued. But at the same time, I guess I'm just sort of wondering, I don't know how to word this exactly. I'm kind of trying to figure out, are you trying to get the power makers on your side, or are you trying to get them to bend to a greater will? You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense? Like, you're trying to get them to, because ultimately what you want is ADCC to raise the amount of their
That's
pay.
all I wanted from day one. When I started complaining about athlete pay, that's all I wanted. Just some better treatment for the athletes.
How do you feel like jiu-jitsu athletes are in terms of fighting or advocating or acting in a way where they can improve their own pay? Obviously, you're leading by example, so present company notwithstanding. Do you feel like jiu-jitsu athletes care about these things?
They care, but they have no leverage. You know what I mean? Like, they should have never given me any power at all. Because, like, I'm going to take that, run with it, and try to make the sport better for everyone else. But if you're like an undercard guy, if you're not a draw, if you don't have a following, what are you going to do? Criticize the power structures? You're just going to get pushed out. So it's like only people at the top can do this.
So is your goal that a year from now, this same weekend that you're targeting, that you're back competing head-to-head with ADCC, or that you won the battle you're trying to fight this year and you're competing at ADCC but for bigger purses?
Well, they do every 2 years. We want to do it every year. You know, like we'll see how the cookie crumbles, whether in 2 years we end up on the same day. We don't have to, you know, but like we want to do it every year.
But you want this to be a thing. Every year this will become the elite event.
That's the intent, is to do it every year. So we got funding for this one. Obviously, the funder's happy to continue this going, depending on the success of this one. But the goal isn't just to take a massive loss and disrupt the industry. Like, I firmly believe that if you can sell out T-Mobile and get massive streaming rights, you can secure sponsors, you could do it in a way that's more beneficial to the athletes involved.
What does fair pay in jiu-jitsu look like?
A free meal.
They don't get those?
Yeah.
10 grand is not a lot.
So
but it's,
so for a layman like me, you're saying every 2 years, the Super Bowl of grappling, the winner gets 10 grand.
yes.
10 grand, yeah.
Kind
No.
of that's
People don't know that.
Does Dana White run that?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously.
It's not.
I was going to ask if Dana White was the benefactor.
I mean, here's the thing, though.
Was he the guy supplying the
Jose,
money?
but in fairness, though, it wasn't like long ago. ADCC, I remember when they went to China. That was when you had the Gary and then the
Ron Gracie.
Kron
right?
Gracie
Yeah.
matches. And then they were in Finland, I think, sometime around that as well. It's only recently where they really begin to bump up the way in which it has looked. So is the argument like, okay, before at that time when they were doing Finland, when they were doing China, which looked like it was in a high school gymnasium for all intents and purposes, maybe there really wasn't a whole lot of money back then, but now you're saying things have changed. Now we're in a
Yeah.
different place.
For sure, things have changed. Like, my first ADCC was 2015 in a basketball court. My last one was in a sold-out Thomas and Mack. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's over 4 events. And athlete pay, compensation hasn't changed. So it's like, if we're contributing to selling out the arena, like, surely I get paid more than the guy that runs the hot dog stand in the car park.
The contracts for ADCC, are they restrictive?
No contracts.
So how does it work when you compete at ADCC? How do you get an invite?
You get an invite, yeah, you say, I'm in, take care of your
You
flight.
don't sign anything?
No. I mean, you've got a massive obstacle there. Most grapplers can't read.
Well, I'm not gonna.
Okay, that's a hurdle. That's a hurdle. But in all seriousness, this whole fucking thing, the Olympics of jiu-jitsu is a fucking handshake deal?
Yeah, if that, it's like
Holy shit balls. I had no idea.
Well, that's why I like that you're going against Gabby and you're bringing the intergender into this because, I'm a boxing guy. So when I think of competitive,
it's Andy Kaufman,
competitive
motherfucker.
grappling,
You need a
I'm
belt
like,
for that.
I'm like,
Intergender champion.
So
You
I got to
definitely
go
need
to
that.
my local gym and get behind a guy like this and roll with him in the spoon position for 3 hours. I'd rather do it with beautiful women. So I think you're opening up.
Dude, that is a sex crime, what you're describing. I mean, you're straight up, I want to go to gym so I can molest women.
So in all seriousness, like hype up this super fight main event, you against Gabby, because I'm fired up. Like, what's this going to look like?
What's it going to look like? It's going to be very
outside of sex crime jokes. What is this going to look like?
It's going to be very dominant. I'm obviously going to take some PEDs for a woman of that caliber. Probably 20 milligrams of Cialis should get the job done. You know what I mean? I'll put my body on the line to make sure one of us gets finished. If it's me, it'll be early. If it's her, it'll probably take a bit of time.
What does she, how would you describe your relationship with Gabby?
Combative. You know what I
Really?
mean? Love-hate relationship. Yeah. Whenever I video call her, she pulls out her butt plugs. They look like they wouldn't touch the sides, but she pulls them out anyway.
Oh my God, the sensors are probably.
our boss right now. Our boss right now is running to the Apollo Theater to get the hook.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I would say it's probably the size and shape of the microphone.
No, I'm serious. Like, do you guys friendly?
Oh yeah, we're friends for sure. But like, obviously, come Judgment Day, there's going to be some.
When you came to her with this idea, what did she tell you? You remember?
I mean, it was 2.5 years ago. There's been a lot of building up to this.
Oh, I see.
But she's into it. She loves it.
What was the straw that broke the camel's back? Just the pay that you were offering for her? Because she's not doing the actual invitational. She's just having a super fight with you, correct?
Exactly, yeah.
What are you paying her? Can I ask?
I can't say.
Oh, fuck off. No, you gotta say. This whole thing is about, changing the game.
Transparency.
I thought you were going to say something else then.
Also drugs. Drugs.
There's another. Yeah, he's talking about Bangkok, and have you seen
Bangkok ready.
Have you seen his videos? Yes.
What is she making?
I can't say. It's between. I may have promised
5
her
or 6 figures.
I may have promised her some sexual favors in return for taking the match, win or lose.
Is she okay with these comments? Because I mean, I'm laughing aggressively here, but also fearfully.
You should be afraid.
Yeah. Jiu-Jitsu doesn't have an HR department, but we do. You know what I'm saying? A little bit of a different rule.
Let's just say I'm coming down to the mat space in a white tank top with a cigarette in my mouth, ready to fight a woman.
All right, let's talk about some of the rules.
Hold on, with what, like a G-string on, basically?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a red panty night for me, something along those lines.
Well, hold on, because, it would be a joke for me to ask you about the drug testing, but are you willing to go the extreme way where when the grappler appears to perform, you will show on the bottom of the screen everything he did take?
I would love to know what they're on. For Gabby, we're both going to drug test and STD check before the match, just for an extra layer of safety.
Oh, wow.
Are there, I cannot believe I'm asking
I mean, a singlet could have done that, but maybe it could seep through. You never know, Luke.
That's a double bagger.
I haven't heard a double bagging joke since college. All right, let's talk about some of the rules. First thing, the fighting surface. You're calling it the alley because it has the angled sides. How big is the flat surface? How much does it cover?
Oh, I mean, total 30 by 40, so it's pretty long.
Okay, that's pretty big. And then explain to me how this one is not, I realize that the inspiration came from Karate Combat, but you can't be taking their exact gimmick, right? So how is this one different at all?
I mean, length, size, shape, as much as we can, They obviously inspired us, but we're doing the alley instead.
Theirs was ding, 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 did a ding, ding.
Yeah.
Right? Theirs was.
Have you ever seen this? Vanilla Ice explaining how he didn't take from
Queen.
David Bowie and Queen?
I haven't seen it, no. But I might need his legal defense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's close. It's pretty close. Yeah.
All right, so is the mats, are they elevated in any way?
No, it's just what we're working on now. We're meant to drop tickets today, but actually, because if you think about it, like anything with an angled wall, if we put it for ground floor seating, you're looking at the angled wall. That's why people always do elevated stage or they'll do mats just on the ground. It's way easier for seating. So we have to put the alley, we have to build a stage around it at the ground floor of the Thomas & Mack so we could put those extra close seats. They can actually see what's going on.
Are you going to put celebrities there? Jiu-Jitsu celebrities?
So I think so. I mean, yeah. If there are any.
I mean, that's something like the Knicks game. There's Spike Lee. There's Chris Rock.
Tom Brady goes to Power Slap.
Oh my God, I forgot.
We
Yeah,
did.
dude, you got to get some of the power slap guys.
That's true. Maybe me and Gabby will turn into power slap. That could be the overtime.
What are the rules for that one? It's the same as the rest of the Invitational?
It is this. Yeah, it's basically 3 by 5 minute rounds. I mean, we'll do open scoring, score round by round, so they know where they're at. We're trying to steal MMA fans as best we can.
Okay, so open scoring in MMA, I hate. Open scoring in jiu-jitsu, I have no problem with at all because everything is, well, you can
Usually,
do it.
no,
You
yeah.
can do it a points-based way that doesn't totally ruin the sport. The 10-point must system part, I got to tell you, like MMA fans hate the 10-point must system, so it's a little bit unusual for me that you've picked it. Obviously, it's an adapted version of it, but you will have judges, correct?
Judges, yeah.
How does that work?
We'll have 3 judges, and basically they'll score dominance of the round. You know what I mean? So, say hypothetically it's a 4-point difference in an IBJJF match or something like that. We consider that a pretty dominant round, like a 10-8 round. You almost finish a guy and dominate him. Could be a 10-7, something close 10-9.
And who's going to judge? Because you would need people that know what the fuck is up to do that.
We're negotiating right now, but it is in good hands. I will say that. But we
Okay,
are.
so Eddie Bravo, Alex Jones,
Judge
who else?
Judy, probably.
Who
yeah.
else? Who else?
Judge Judy would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody are these famous people, or are these like like a Shaolin Habera who's like not well known but well respected?
I can't say just yet. These things are
Glad you're
working.
here, Craig.
These things are working fast. You know what I mean? Like I've been busy. I'll tell you what, I've been up all night. I do not sleep for this event.
How do you
And
sleep at night?
is there going to be 3 judges? Or how many judges total are you hiring?
I think just 3. Yeah, 3 judges.
So how many matches are going to go on simultaneously?
Just one mat at a time. Oh, so we'll probably have a bigger team, but just one mat at a
I see,
time.
okay.
Because so some of the bigger tournaments, multiple mats, you're like, fuck, I can't keep up. So because we're doing less divisions than the other tournament, we just want one mat.
Where's it going to air?
Free on YouTube.
Free on YouTube.
We've had streaming offers, but I want it free on YouTube to see how many viewers grappling does get. Obviously,
Right.
it'll be artificially
no
inflated.
obstructions. All you need is an internet connection, and
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what we want. We want to get that information and obviously leverage it against other streaming promoters
This
for
being broadcast
negotiation.
on cell phones, or you have a full team? This is a
Yeah. Who's going to do the actual production work?
That's a question for my business partner, but we have a team in place. Everything's moving super fast. We're gonna
the guys from Brazzers are actually just going to pivot.
I'm gonna have
over,
a GoPro. It's gonna be POV for Gabby.
Dude,
It might be the other way around.
Listen,
actually,
if you
no.
get us fired, can your investor save us for a
Please.
yearly salary?
I can't make any promises, but you
So-
can come into the sunglass industry.
Craig, you've blown up in the space that I view the world through, which is like MMA Instagram. Like you've crossed over, and obviously you have
Women's Instagram in particular.
you have like tangibly crossed over in MMA. You're Alex Volkanovski's grappling coach, and grappling is MMA adjacent in a lot of ways. But like, are you aiming to be a major player in this sort of UFC social media window?
I'll ride the coattails of whoever will let me. Basically, I'll work with whoever to make a contribution to grappling. At the end of the day,
so
I'm
it
trying to
really
grow
is
the
about the
sport.
love of the art and the craft to you. That's all it is.
I mean, clearly, I'm fighting a woman. It is about the love of the game here. You know, I will do anything to grow this sport.
Pure sportsman.
Yeah.
Is really what this all comes down. How do you see yourself? Seriously, how do you see yourself? How do you explain when people meet you for the first time? How do you explain who you are and what you do?
Oh, that's good. I mean, I'm just making memes. I think making a joke. I'm a real life meme.
No, but you're a guy who competed because you came out of nowhere. I remember the first ADCC. We're like, who the fuck is Craig Jones? And he was beating everybody. And then you've turned into like a really good grappler. You made, I think, a decent living from what I can tell from the instructional side. You obviously have part of a famous gym, but now it seems like onto obviously something different a little bit. This is sort of you've always been kind of a jokester. You have the Mountain Dudes thing, the B team gear, all that stuff, but it's a little different now. I feel like you've, for example, all the places you're traveling. When I first hit you up, you're like, I'm in Bali, I'm in Kiev. It's just, it does seem like you've kind of moved on from that sort of secondary identity.
Somebody's laundering money through you, and I'm here for it. It's
Well,
great. You know,
we've got to secure funding. A place you can go to. I was just in Ukraine. They're giving away missiles over there, and Iran's buying. That's where we can fund tournaments like this.
How much pushback did you get for going to Ukraine from the jiu-jitsu community, which skews?
I mean, obviously, I wasn't popular in Russia to begin with because of the Islam Makhachev jokes, but that definitely pushed it over the edge, I think.
Have you heard that you're not popular in Russia, or are you just doing a bit?
No, I mean, the messages I get, the death threats I get for,
Oh, really?
for supporting Ukraine.
Dude, you know,
government.
one time I had, this was, God, what fight was this? I can't remember, but I had Colby Covington come through studio. And, this was right after he was like, all you Brazilians are filthy animals, blah, blah, blah. Remember that one? He showed me his phone. This fucker was scrolling, I'm not kidding, for like 5 minutes, death threat after death threat in Portuguese, just all the way down.
At least he can't read him.
Yeah.
It's got the translate button
There's
in
probably a
between.
few bare boobs and other things in there.
I would look at it the
when
other
he's
way.
scrolling.
If it's in another language, I just assume it's positive. I'm like, oh, fuck, they're saying nice things about me.
Yeah, the middle fingers really give it away, you know? It's a different
All
thing
right,
in
but like
Portuguese.
you've made for as hilarious as you are, and you're almost this ambassador / mascot of grappling, and now you're a promoter. Like you made significant contributions in the evolution of MMA grappling. Like that's a true fact. You in Volkanovski's corner and the great team he already has, how he leveled up in that first Makhachev fight. Like it was, we remember talking about it. Like it was shocking.
I remember you
You're
talking
able
about
to kind of pump your chest. Do you do? I don't know. Do you do that often and be like, yeah, man, I was a big part of helping that guy deal with the toughest wrestler in the world?
I mean, I don't take too much credit for it personally, publicly, to sell instructionals. I do. On the other hand, I used you talking about it to put it into a commercial to sell my instructionals.
Really?
shit.
What did I say?
You just put it all on me. I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. And I'll sell it.
Did you make more for being in Mr. Faber's weed movie or for being in his commercial?
I made nothing for doing that.
All right,
So,
there you go.
yeah.
There you go.
And we still overpaid. No, but I really just did the best I could. I don't know. I mean, obviously Volk's talented to begin with. You know, like I couldn't just take anyone and improve.
But you
their
saw
game.
something. You had the right guy to execute it. But it seems like you were adding something significant to the MMA grappling space. Do you see it as that, or do you just see it as how can I help each guy that I protect?
I mean, it's hard to truly say what you're responsible for because he's out there doing it. You know what I mean? It's like kind of taking what he already does and trying to make adjustments in any way I can, rather than being like, oh, we're going to try this whole new move for this. So I'm already just trying to help what he's already doing.
But are you watching UFC fights on the regular going, I see how I could help elevate that guy. I see how much maybe they're not thinking about this side of grappling and jiu-jitsu into implementing it into the game.
I mean, most of the time I watch it as a fan, try to steal moves off guys, try to see what I can steal.
Yeah, but hold on. Yeah, okay, you're doing a bit here, but I do want to like interject because one of the things that I have got from you that is, and every story is going to be different. Part of what you do, I've seen balls to the wall. I've seen, by the way, half of his instructionals just sound like gay porn. I mean, balls to the wall, two guys fucking. I mean, these are the names of Craig Jones's instructionals.
False reap accusations.
False reap accusations.
Two men wearing one cup, something. Yeah.
Okay, but in all seriousness, every time I watch it, there's a consistent thread, which is
something gay.
yeah, this guy is gay. But no, it's in all seriousness, it's jiu-jitsu has been doing things this way for a long time. Here's why so much of this is wrong. Here's a better way to do it. And I do feel like that has kind of, whether it's just you or you and the Dan, the Dan Hart New Wave guys, give them credit to, whoever, there's just been this idea of like, we should rethink turtle. We should rethink octopus guard. We should rethink
doing 69 at all.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, north-south. At all. You know what I mean? Just
Gabby,
by the way,
we wouldn't line up.
which he has shown can be a pin. I remember that from the balls to the wall instructional, right? So I'm just sort of pointing out, don't you feel like there's a little bit of that you are at least at a bare minimum associated with?
Yeah, I mean, you got to try to challenge the status quo. I'd rather try and find a new way to beat people at their game than, basically a new way to contribute to the game that they're not prepared for, rather than beat them at their own game. That's what I tried to do when I came into jiu-jitsu. I was like, how can I beat people that are better than me? And leg locks was the first path. And I still try to find those shortcuts now. And you got to sort of challenge the status quo to do that.
Let me ask you, since again, the big thing I got from you was pinning, right? I just learned a lot from watching your instructionals. Did catch wrestling kind of have it right? I don't necessarily mean with like, well, let's put a thumb in the eye and like, pain submissions rather than like, limb breaks or strangles. But they kind of had it right to an extent, did they not? Like, what did catch wrestling get right? What did it get wrong?
I mean, I do love trolling. They take themselves very
seriously.
seriously.
They get very bitter.
Yeah,
They get
very
very
angry.
upset.
I was going to bring out an instruction at one time called catch wrestling moves that work. And when people press play, nothing, it just didn't.
It's you urinating, just taking it out. Yeah.
I was like, better not do that. No, I mean, I don't know too much about catch wrestling. I've trained with catch wrestling guys. I think they're just not restrained by the rule systems we work in today. So it's like, I feel like we'd come to the same conclusions if we had a more broader rule set.
Right. Who has, aside from yours, who has the best rule set in pro grappling? Is it the Fight Pass Invitational? People seem to love that.
It's good. I mean, for me personally, I would just try to pick a rule set I can beat an opponent in, exploit that. I just try to exploit the rule set. So everything's strategy based. So I'm like, all right, they want me to face this opponent. how can I change the rules to make it easier for me? So I don't even think about there's one best rule set. I just try to exploit the rule set on offer or the opponent.
Let's talk about MMA a little bit, because I know you wanted to get to this. What was the game plan if it went to the ground? Obviously, these are going to be scenario based, right? But what was the game plan for Ortega to the extent that you were involved in that one? Because I think you were there for the full camp for that one.
For that one, I trained with him a ton on Ultimate Fighter, and then we did some videos, but I was only there fight week, I think, for that one.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Just
so
exchange videos.
okay. Nevertheless, did you guys discuss that? Like, what were you there to do specifically for him?
I mean, just submission defense, because I already knew, obviously we're on Ultimate Fighter for 6 weeks. We already knew that fight was coming. So we were already thinking about what submissions he's good at, how we could defend against them, and basically putting in the prep then, and then he would drill those style of escapes all the time in the lead up.
Did he drill mounted guillotine?
We did the kipping escape, and he kind of used that to get out of the guillotine, but still, I don't fucking know how he got out of it. But for the public at large, I sold an instruction on how he got out of it, you know? But that's ancient history now, you know?
Okay, the first Islam fight. What was the game plan for you?
I mean, just getting out of the leg ride position. I mean, really worst case scenario. Like, obviously we have Frank Hickman there for the wrestling as well. Some of this is going to be definitely wrestling, but I mean, just really getting out of those bad pin positions. I basically tried to replicate what he did, and I brought that out in an instructional Islam. And then by trying to work out what he does, helps you prepare how to defend against it.
Okay, so then what were you trying to solve for that Islam does really well? Like, seriously, like, flex some knowledge here. What makes Islam...
That's proprietary knowledge.
Yeah.
Right.
What makes Islam such a great and dominant MMA grappler?
I mean, the leg ride's amazing. Like, he puts himself in positions where you can't put the base of your feet on the ground. If you can't put the base of your feet on your ground, you can't hip escape, you can't do those traditional jiu-jitsu style movements. What we were working on for Volks is just never letting him get to a position where he was flat. And he would bounce back up and land on an elbow, and then we had strategies to deal with the wrist ride, like he would turtle out of the wrist ride. He was always preventing Islam locking the hands or framing an elbow in such a way that would be very fatiguing for Islam to keep those hands locked. So all those types of strategies, as well as specific submission defense. Islam's
I noticed the head in the cage to prevent the back take, right?
Yes, yeah. I mean, Islam did have one crafty counter to that where he shifted weights side to side, but yeah, he was... It was good.
So you're an opportunistic guy, an entrepreneur guy, hilarious too, but you did big shit there with the best fighter in the world at the time. Does the phone start ringing? Are you then going, okay, how do I take this career turn as the featured go-to hot coach of the moment in the UFC?
I'm just like, sorry, brother, I need to do title fights, you know?
Is that what you say?
Well, no, I mean, that's the only thing I've done because I was the last addition to basically the team for the corner. And that was basically specifically for the Ortega one because that was the first fight I was in the corner. So it's like his true corner is probably Eugene Joe Lopez, Frank Hickman. I was added on for that title fight. So like I'm probably the most disposable. I think a grappling coach, I can probably provide help for certain fights. You know, like I worked a little bit with Jack Della for Gilbert Burns. I can't take credit for what he did, but I did a little bit. You know, I can help people a little bit. But for specific, I'm more for specific fights. You don't like... I'm fucking holding the bucket for Max Holloway. You know what I mean? Like I'm not needed for every fight, but they give it to me anyway.
But is this the direction you want to go? I mean, does that sell what you're selling, the Craig Jones brand, even better?
I think so. As long as like, I mean, if it's a person I like, because I don't do the coaching for the money. Obviously, it's good for the brands. Like it's good to grow everything you're doing, but I do it just because I'm an MMA fan or I'm good friends with the guy I coach because it's actually pretty horrible to coach your friends at MMA because it's like they can get really badly hurt. Yeah. And you feel a great deal of pressure making sure you don't fucking tell them to do the wrong thing.
Was that locker room after the Poirier fight? I can't imagine that was too much fun.
I mean, after the Islam one, the energy was lower. It was a little more positive after the Poirier one. But yeah, I mean, it's like could be on top of the world or it's absolutely horrible.
All right, so people probably ask you this. You probably think about it because the ultimate entrepreneurial thing is, well, let's get Craig Jones famous enough where he stumbles into a big MMA fight he shouldn't be in. Do you ever think about that? Like, what would stop you with your grappling background from making that transition?
Drugs,
okay, maybe
yeah,
outside of drugs and long-term contracts, but like, if tomorrow you signed up for a training camp for an MMA fight against an elite, I guess,
Well,
heavyweight.
we've built it into the CGI contract. You know, like, obviously when I destroy Gabby in grappling, I've presented the option that we could have a proper fight.
Okay, now that's getting deep intergender. Now that's crossing some lines there.
Yeah, it's
But,
like, is this are you a promoter or is this a hate crime? What's happening here?
Yeah, we'll see how the first one goes.
But like, could you? Okay, let's say you go in there against Tom Aspinall tomorrow in an MMA fight.
Jesus.
Well, you got to pick the biggest dude on earth.
Okay, I mean, what would you fight?
I know
What
I
would you
look
fight
big,
at?
but you know,
185. You can make 185.
yeah, well, I could probably 185. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say you're going there against a super elite guy. Could you not just survive with your jiu-jitsu, but
Probably not,
confidently
but-
plan a path to victory in your eyes, if you wanted to?
I mean, it would be tough. It'd be tough for me to get it done in MMA because I don't have a wrestling background, and I'm fully reliant on getting the guy to the ground.
Sure.
That's very tough. But if the price was right, I'd go in there and get knocked out for good show money. You know.
So for example, because I want the Craig Jones brand to be like the premier brand in this space because it makes me laugh better than anyone. Jake Paul's eventually going to make an MMA debut if the smart cage picked up the phone and was like,
Yeah, but he's not going to go from fighting Mike Tyson to the guy putting.
I'm creating a scenario where the money would be so much that
I mean, forget about the name. If the price is right, I would do fucking anything.
So you're like what's an Indecent Proposal? Have you seen that old ass movie?
with
Oh,
Demi
yeah,
Moore,
yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
Woody
I'd be
Harrelson.
I'd be Demi Moore though. You know.
Okay.
Other players in the
See,
sport
I'm
might be
trying-
the husband.
I'm
but,
trying to figure out how you're wired because you're smart and hilarious and ahead of the game, and obviously also an athlete and can compete. But there's this loose thread through maybe that's the magic of Craig Jones that I can never really.
He wants
figure
the
out.
jokes to confuse you that there's not a lot going on there. There's a lot going on.
There's a
there.
lot going on there. He's
Yeah.
brilliant, but like, do you have an end game? Do you have something you're building toward?
You're basically retired from competing too, right?
Yeah, unless it's something cool.
I mean,
unless
the
it's something
Gabby
fun,
thing or
yeah.
whatever. But
I mean, you want to be rich and famous, but like, are you building towards something?
I mean, I'm trying to change the sport right now. We actually got some film projects in the work. That's kind of why I've been traveling around so much. So we got a non-profit Fair Fight Foundation. We're starting that by fighting a woman, but we're going to try to use this as a platform to get these documentaries out there. I'm trying
what
to
kind
do.
of documentaries? Did you make one in Kiev or Ukraine?
Well, I'm going back to Odessa next week. I think it's next week. Yeah. So going back to Ukraine, doing some follow-up filming and stuff. Yeah. Obviously, it's challenging to film in Ukraine.
And are you documenting the jiu-jitsu scene in these countries?
We're trying to do what Bourdain did for sort of street food, but for jiu-jitsu.
Now that's interesting.
But I can't tell if you love jiu-jitsu or if you hate it. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of both with you.
Oh, I mean, there are things I love and hate about it. But like, all right, so like Scientology doesn't start with Planet Xena. They start with Tom Cruise. So for us to go jiu-jitsu, we're not going to start with the competitions and the weirdos. We're going to try and find interesting people to talk to in the sport. To
Okay,
convince
so it
you.
sounds to me like you like the grassroots part of jiu-jitsu, but maybe less so the very top and all the fuck games up there.
For sure. I love traveling to places where people high up in the jiu-jitsu world never go. You know, I love that aspect of it.
Where do you want to go that you haven't been?
Well, I'm going to Odessa and I'm going to go to Kherson next week. So it might be the end of me, but that'll be Ukraine front line. Go back, see my friends out there.
Yeah, dude. If you're in Kherson, that's real close to the fault lines of the conflict. No,
That's true. That's where I'll be playing in the tournament from.
fucking hell, dude. Why is Ukraine so important to you? I mean, I understand that their situation is interesting and unique, and these people do need help. But there's a lot of people who fit that description. So why them?
I know I get a lot of this. Hey, like it's like a lot of obviously free Palestine posts on my thing, and it's like, I mean, just because I choose to do something for cancer doesn't mean it's like, hey, fuck, what about heart disease? You know, like I get a lot of this. It's like trying to tackle one thing at a time. Ukraine is a big jiu-jitsu base. Now I've gone over there, I feel a bit of attachment to the people, you know?
How'd you get over there the first time? In other words, like, were you invited? Did you go on a whim? What happened?
We were actually filming something in Kazakhstan that went a bit ass up over there, you know? Like you can imagine there's a bit of trauma in Kazakhstan from Borat, and I might bring some of that out of them. So we decided to go to...
This is the end game. Okay, we figured it out. This is great. This is like the Borat of
I watched
combat
some of this
sports.
stuff. You had all the gear on. You were riding horses and shit out there. It looked like it was nice.
Cockpile, yeah, we were doing cockpile. That's the name of it.
Did he say coke pile? I
don't know.
couldn't hear that. Yeah. Luke's just imagining cocks piling up.
Get the fuck out. All right, go ahead and finish your story.
No, I mean, we're in Kazakhstan. There were some difficulties. So I'd been invited to Ukraine before. So I was like, fuck it. On a week's notice, I was like, let's do a charity event over there, keep the traveling going. We had that time allocated for filming. So we're basically like, go to Ukraine.
And seems like you were, I don't know, moved by the experience to some degree.
For sure. I mean, yeah, some of the places I've been traveling to, like obviously you see some stuff that will move you, put in perspective kind of the priorities in your life. But it is good to be in a position that I can travel. Like jiu-jitsu gives you connections everywhere. It's like a giant cult, stations around the world, you know? So it's like doors are open everywhere for me around the world. So I'm going to try to exploit those.
All right,
Exploit's the wrong word.
Yeah.
Adventure.
Yeah. All right, can we talk about drugs?
We can talk about drugs.
All right.
Do you have any?
So I knew you were taking stuff, and of anyone in my line of work, I have the most permissive attitudes about that kind of stuff. I am curious, how have you not lost your hair with TRT? Because I'm dying to get on it.
I'm a big hat guy, you know, clearly.
Let me see. Are you balding?
We're close. Time's running out, you know?
Oh, a little bit. Yeah, you lost some hair from the TRT?
I think it was going to happen anyway, but you know, like the bigger your muscles are, the less they look up, I think.
Yeah. How was TRT? You like it?
Incredible, yeah.
Should I get on it? I'm 44.
You should have got on it 10 years ago.
I mean,
In your 30s? It seems a little early for I'm just a regular donk.
I mean,
I'm
that's
not-
a late bloomer in jiu-jitsu. They're starting at 14, you know? So
Yeah.
why wait?
I mean, what will you be on in this Gabby fight? It plays into
Yeah, what are
drugs.
you
Would
on?
you
All right,
reveal
so
to
there's-
us?
Let's talk about what do you
All right,
want?
there's one particular drug. It's called halotestin. Have you heard about this?
No.
Halotestin will actually enlarge your penis.
How's that possible?
I like he's interested. It took that to get him on.
I was already interested in the
Hey,
drugs.
that was a tell right there. That was a big tell.
No, I don't even
He's like-
understand.
He's like, does it work?
I want the regular TRT, but go ahead, please.
Halotestin is a strong oral. I don't think it's good for your liver, but I mean, your liver can take a beating.
Okay, so what do you want now?
What am I on now? 250 milligrams of test. But I mean, my life's chaos. I fucking forget to take it half the time, you know? But Evertitan sponsored me out in Texas. I meant to take 250, a little bit of Deca, and then when I'm feeling extra spicy, some Anavar. Actually, that's funny. Me and
Are you just blasting and cruising, or do you get on and off?
we just, well, I mean, I don't even really blast. I just stay on a
You just cruise.
TRT dose.
This
yeah.
life is one long bender, and he's living it.
How often do you get your,
You sound like my
how often do you
therapist.
get your blood checked?
Not as often as I should.
Oh, fucking hell, guy. How old are you?
32. That's the thing about that. Yeah.
Oh,
32.
dude. I'm telling. Careful with that.
You know what's crazy is I was doing black market steroids forever. When I finally switched over to Evertitan, he was really going to be concerned. He's like, fuck, what are we going to see here? Bloods were fine. I'm like a cockroach, mate. You can't kill me.
I
Hold
got
on,
the
hold on.
feel-
Hold on. The black market steroids, what does that mean?
Online. Man, I used to head down to Tijuana and head to the pharmacy there, buy it over the counter, go in the bathroom.
You just drive across the border, buy it?
slap-
You never bought
I'd walk.
Stanozol on the street corner? I've done whippets in an Arby's parking lot.
I've
okay?
also-
That's a true story. All right.
Yeah, there's some fantastic fucking Chinese restaurants in Tijuana. I'll say that much.
Okay. How long were you taking like the, I don't know, Tijuana drugstore stuff?
Oh, a while. I was ordering it online for a long time, just get it delivered here. But then again, like I would definitely recommend like the pharmaceutical grade stuff. So whatever I was taking, it was just probably weaker. So as soon as I started with some proper Evertitan pharmaceutical stuff, it was just
All right,
much,
let's talk.
much better.
Biggest upsides of the stack you're on is what?
Just feeling great, recover. I mean, like if your diet, your sleep, if you're stressed, that can affect your testosterone levels. They can fluctuate. So obviously, if you just have a base level built in, you have less fluctuations. I don't personally think it's that healthy to blasting cruise. Obviously, there's going to be consequences of blasting, but going on cycle and coming off, I think personally is an old school way of thinking because your body doesn't deal well with fluctuations. So I think just a stock standard, find a dose.
Okay, but what's
stay
the long-term problem with being on a straight cruise here? Your heart just falling out one day?
Talk to me in 20 years. Nah. No, I mean, it should be all good, you know?
Hey, he passed the 27 club test. He made it to age 32, Luke.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, he's-
Yeah. 32. Yeah, I mean, I'll just
32 is
say
the new 27.
35
Yes,
is,
yes. Yeah. Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison, Janis Joplin, Brian Jones. We can keep going. yeah.
35 is, I'm telling you, it's not,
Well,
not
okay,
far.
here's the question I have. This is legit because I come from a dirtbag background and often wonder if I didn't fall into combat sports podcasting and writing, where
what would you
I
be doing? You'd be
Would
in a
you be
van
an
down by the river.
Like, would you be an absolute dirt hole bar backing somewhere right now if it wasn't for jujitsu? Like, this is kind of the American dream story, but the Australian version, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'd be doing. Hey, I have no idea.
You don't think about that. You are just living, man. You have no regrets.
I don't have any permanent address. I'm just on the road full time. We're putting in the body whatever
Are
we
you a
want.
legal resident?
I can't talk about that.
Well, you're getting out of the country. You gotta have some
Do you
papers.
mean legal tax resident? I mean,
Right.
we've got an
right.
address in the Bahamas. No.
Do you own B Team?
Oh, there's a few. It's split up amongst a few.
Okay. Are you okay? When I asked it, are you the owner of the intellectual property or the facility or the
I mean, I come up with most of the designs, believe it or not.
for the merch?
Yeah.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
We got to get you to train Conor McGregor's grappling. That would be fun.
Yeah, Dylan Dennis for it. Dude, is
would be
is
fun
Dylan
to
still on
watch.
his
I'll tell you
corner?
what, we could spend a couple hours in a bathroom cubicle talking
Figuring
about
it out.
grappling. you
Yeah,
know?
that's what I'm.
Let's fucking get to the bottom of
Hold
it.
on, we never got to the downsides. The downsides of what you're on is what?
Roid rage?
So your testicles will shrink. That's one downside. They're not doing anything anymore, so they shrink
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
My right one a little more than my left. That one tucks back inside sometimes, but hey, we don't need it. It's good because grappling, what happens? You get hitting the balls all the time. If you don't have any, one less obstacle.
All right, that's rationalization. What else? What else?
Downsides? I don't even think there are any downsides.
Does it ever affect your mood? Does it ever affect, I don't know, anything?
I mean, some people it does.
Yeah.
But I'm the same
I
all the
heard
time.
somebody tell me that Lorenzo Fertitta told them that we're all going to be on HGH for the rest of our lives, and he's ahead of the game.
Yeah. I'm desperate.
I
to
don't
get
think
on.
anyone looks at my health and thinks he's ahead of the game, but
Yeah. I've been toying with the idea of getting on it for like the last
He's
5
just-
years,
he
and I
can't
just
pull
keep
that
putting it off,
trigger.
and I can't pull the trigger just yet.
you'll feel great.
I don't know.
feel
Everyone
great.
says that. Everybody says that. I just haven't.
Just get on some HCG as well if you want to.
What's the recommendation? How do I find, since you've gone from literally, just some motherfucker selling meth out of a school bus to now you got a legit, like a doctor prescribing this shit, right?
Yep.
How do I find a reputable place?
I mean, that's a good point.
Just ask at the street corner, probably, Luke.
Come
Next
down.
to the human pile
Yeah,
of shit in the subway?
You need a vacation in Mexico. Let's go.
No, I want to do it. I want to do it. I want my health
You
insurance
got
to
to
pay
be eating
for
that
it.
Canelo beef, all right? That's what you need to start
That
eating.
clenbuterol is real, dude.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
No, seriously, how do I do it?
I mean, you'd be able to just find a
It's
doctor
like, really,
here.
can I get a number, please? Can I
Yes,
get
I
a...
want one.
You'd be able to find a reputable doctor in New York. You'd be able to. I would always say this to people that want to get on. I'd be like, go get your testosterone levels checked, because I think if your levels are already pretty good, like I'd get it checked a couple of times because they can fluctuate. But I think like if your levels are high, why fuck with it?
Right.
But if you go in,
Yeah, I
and
don't
your
think that's my
levels-
problem. I got to tell you. At 44, I threw my back out taking my bike lock off this morning.
All right,
motherfucker.
get on it straight
Yeah.
away. Yeah.
Yeah. I need help. Big time.
All right, Craig, you're fearless in the jokes you go after and the people that you go out of your way to offend. So people have to wonder when you live the life of the best public troll going in this space, is it sometimes like a double, there's nothing a double leg could figure out. Is someone going to shoot on you? Are you ready for this? Are you surprised it hasn't happened
I'm
yet?
surprised someone hasn't run up on you yet.
Well,
if I can
are
be
you going to
honest.
get...
And I don't mean to say this like to worry you. It is coming. It is coming. I don't know when. I don't know when. I don't know.
It'd be,
who.
I mean, look, it'd be a poetic end, you know?
The jiu-jitsu is the ultimate defense for this.
I
though.
mean, people give me death threats. I'm going to war zones. Like, what are you going to do? You know? What are you going to take from me, an Eastern European woman already hasn't? You know? Like, you got to live.
What does your family think about what you do?
You got to grab life by the balls.
Like when you're on Instagram and you're posting something and your ass is hanging out the entire time in the mirror.
I mean, they're probably a little confused as well, to be honest. You know,
just
like,
marketing, Mom. Just marketing.
Yeah.
It's just...
The Ladyboy videos are confusing for them. For
I remember
sure.
the Ladyboy videos. Yes.
That was a scandalous turn for your comedy.
That was.
You really
but
went
they're
for
a
it
good
there,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they're fun. They're fun. You know, good time.
Where do you stand on Dana White? Like, meathead genius on top of the world, we love him, or is this guy comical that you can poke fun at as well?
Oh, I mean, there's some people I'd be scared to poke fun at. I'd probably be scared because I'd want to
Trying to
keep
get
going.
those fight
I
pass
want to be like, guys, give me some tickets to the event tomorrow. You know what I mean? Dana, come on.
I will say this. You're taking a certain degree of risk to do this invitational, which I think is really cool. Why don't MMA fighters ever do anything to improve their pay?
I mean,
And don't say that they do, because they fucking don't.
yeah, they just, what happened with that lawsuit recently? They settled
They
on,
settled.
right? Yeah.
They had multiple chances. And I know there's some guys, Alaya Quinta and some other ones that really tried to get a union going. That shit failed miserably. They don't want to do anything to help themselves. And it's fucking baffling. Why?
Well, I mean, like, we were in a blessed position that we can do this because none of us were locked into contracts. That helps a lot. You know,
Well,
that helps
that's not entirely true. We got some contracts that we're working on. Yeah.
yeah, that kind of helped. You know, I don't know. You have to be the people at the top. It has to come from the top down. It has to be people that are at their peak fame, peak success. It has to come from them. It can't come from the bottom up. That's very tough to do if the top are very well compensated.
And the only reason why you feel comfortable doing it is not that, because in other words, there might be other people in like the top tier of grappling who feel the way you do, but don't feel the way you do about moving the needle on this. But since you're not really actively competing anymore, who gives a fuck, right?
Yeah, I just don't care at this point. If a promotion's going to be difficult to work with, I just won't work with them. Like, I don't feel like I need anyone in the sport. So that puts me in a unique position that I can basically tell everyone to get fucked and just give it a crack.
Have you created like a new economy? Not just you, but the things you do where Karate Combat is putting this stuff on. I know one has restrictive contracts, but they've been keeping the Ruotola brothers reasonably busy anyway, where it's just kind of like super fight here, super fight there. Doesn't have to be a jiu-jitsu place. It can be a karate place. It can be any kind of place. Do you feel like that's a lane that you helped develop?
I mean, obviously there's famous grapplers in the sport. Obviously Gordon Ryan contributed to the super fight sort of economy. But yeah, I mean, if you can market yourself, I don't see why an event wouldn't take a chance on you. But I think if you're running these events, you kind of are going to target those grapplers that can market themselves, or at least help them find a way to market themselves. And this event has been really good for the athletes that have jumped on board because of the organic sort of cult-like following it has. It's giving them a voice too, because they can now market themselves as standing with us on these issues.
The tutorial business, how lucrative is it? What can somebody make doing that? And I realize everyone's going to be different, but that notwithstanding, what is possible in that economy?
Oh, I mean, that's really good. I mean, obviously you've got to split some of those profits with the people like BJJ Fanatics. Some people are doing it on Patreon, like Lock and Giles has Sub Better. Like, it is really, really,
I saw
really lucrative.
the guy on your team, Damien, he had a Ashigarami series that was on something else. It wasn't on BJJ Fanatics.
Yes, I mean, some people will choose to do it on other platforms. BJJ Fanatics really controls the market. That's where you're going to make the most money. They're great to work with. They have great, consistent marketing. But I mean, man, you could pull, I don't want to speculate too much on other numbers, but obviously you'd be like probably John and Gordon making the most money off those.
Which looks like what?
Oh, I mean, you'd be talking some
ballpark.
Gross per month, I would say over 200.
Fuck me. Seriously? Take home?
They're split. I'm not sure what they're split.
Yeah.
But definitely gross sales.
Fucking hell. So that's a 6-figure business, 7-figure business.
Yeah, that's the most beneficial to be a part of.
Will the Gordon Ryan rivalry with you ever continue in an actual grappling match again?
I mean, the door's always open. Again, like, if the cash will be there for that. So if they compensated me well, for sure I would do it. But part of me loves just provoking for the love of the game. You know, like, it's like he's the dream. You know, he's the guy that every joke's like whoosh, gone. You know, like I'm trying to think of the best.
Let me understand something, because I've interviewed him about jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu and MMA, and when it comes to talking about those topics, he always sounds extremely informed, very thoughtful and detailed and organized in his thought as well.
And he is. When he stays on topic, and that's what he knows about, which is grappling, brilliant. Ask him about anything else.
Your belief is that when he strays off of it, it just falls off a cliff.
He's literally Ben Stiller from Dodgeball. That's literally the character.
Well, Luke, we've talked last week about you really trying to help normalize the idea of shitting your pants. Like, it shouldn't be such a shamed thing.
Listen, these things happen in MMA.
Yeah. So are you trying to normalize no spear use in public culture? And
if I can at least create a culture of other athletes that are abusing these stimulants as well, and maybe it's all a lie from me, then I have a competitive edge.
No, you're partying like a motherfucker. Come on, you gotta be.
I mean, sometimes before the match, you know, you need a little coffee to pick you up.
Do you do that before matches?
A little extra sugar in the coffee.
A little booger sugar?
Yeah.
We'll keep the mysteries alive.
What's going to be the name brand of those things?
Good question. It's Oscar and Frank sunglasses, and it says, "You're welcome, Craig Jones." But again, obviously many times you need a very small spoon.
Right. You know,
Luke, from like your fraternity days, I
can't do coke. I can't do coke. It doesn't.
Yeah,
that's what I say, but I keep doing it. You know?
20 years ago, I tried it, and it just
looks like. Let me stick with downers.
Have you ever done it?
No.
Really?
Oh, I put other. I don't. You know, should we be talking about this publicly?
Why? This is the whole point of
it. I guess we should.
He can't admit.
I mean, who the fuck else are we going to talk about it with?
I've seen some things, Luke. You know what I mean? I've smelled some.
Hey, help
So
us
have your
with,
nostrils.
help us with some previews. 302. Dustin
302.
or Islam?
Listen, I think Dustin gets a guillotine.
I think he's right.
Why did his guillotines fail?
It was a hard move to pull off, period. You know, like it's just hard to get. Like you have to go all in on it, you know? It's
like
bold.
Ortega?
I know Ortega
It's
makes it
bold.
look easy.
His is,
guys
yeah.
at that level.
He makes
anyway.
juggling chicks at that level look easy.
Well, he certainly
Yeah,
does.
he does. Yeah.
Terry, yeah, I mean, let's hope for the best. I'm hoping for guillotine.
Whose grappling do you actually like to watch in MMA?
Who's grappling? I mean, tons of the guys. I more love the scramble. Like you might think, oh, he does jiu-jitsu, he's probably into the submissions and stuff, but I really like the scrambles, the top to bottom scrambles.
Like the flyweights and stuff?
Well, like Jack Della's ability to not get pinned.
Dude,
I love
and
that.
that Hail Mary in that third round against Gilbert, kicking off the fence and coming over the top.
Yeah, he countered the wrist rod so well. He used Gilbert's forward pressure to
He
create
pulled him out and
momentum.
then he rolled through, right?
Yeah, so guys like that, where they're like doing things you've not seen before. The creativity, that's what I like to watch.
All right, anybody non-Australian that you like to watch?
I forget the guy's name. He used to have crazy scrambles. I think he lives in Vegas. He's got some crazy stuff. I forget his name. He was
Patchy Mix?
Nah, this guy had been in prison for drug smuggling. That's not why I like him, but it adds to it.
Ian Heinisch.
Ian Heinisch.
Ian
yeah.
Heinisch,
Thank
yeah, I love
Thank
watching
you,
his
Long
guys.
Island.
And I say this nicely, he's a maniac. Yeah.
He has Jurassic back. Very well built guy. Loves crypto.
Hey, we should add, so we got our producer here who
Long
is,
Island Luke, yeah.
he's an idiot, but his dad is from Australia. Now this guy is fully American,
Really?
but his dad played semi-pro footy.
Well, yeah, speak on this, Luke.
He played Aussie rules football, semi-pro for
I got into
Richmond.
headphones,
He
what you're
can't hear
saying.
me, so let him know.
Okay, his dad played semi-Aussie rules football for Richmond.
Richmond.
Semi-pro.
Oh, Richmond, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Aussie Rose. Fuck that rugby shit.
Will you ever go back to Australia to live?
To live? I don't know. I don't know where I'll end up. You know, I don't think too far ahead. Taking it every day at a time, you know?
I can tell. You're from Adelaide?
Adelaide.
Tell
yeah.
me about Adelaide. What is that like?
Adelaide, I mean, it's got, I think, 1.5 million people, but it's like, I wouldn't define it as a big city by American standards. Like its downtown area is tiny. It's like endless
Is there a
suburbs.
rough equivalent in America?
Rough. I mean, American cities are pretty rough compared to those Aussie ones, but
Yeah.
is there an equivalent in size? No, it's just like endless suburbs. Nice place, quiet place, relaxing place.
And do you miss it at all?
Do I miss Australia? Yeah, Australia's beautiful, beautiful place, you know? Cool people get my sense of humor.
Yeah. Americans
Here it's
can be a
fucking
little.
They must love you in Ireland and the UK, right?
I think the same banter. The banter's the same. We say
Yeah.
different things, but we pick up on each
No, they're
other's
more
things.
willing to. We call it playing the dozens. They're a little bit more willing to do that. We found, right?
Yeah, that's the dream in America when you're talking and no one knows if you're serious or not. That's what I love about.
Yeah, but
being
that's what
here.
makes you stand out here.
It's true. It's true. Yeah,
You got to have balls to pull that off, though, okay? You got to have huevos.
and mine are shrunken.
And his are, as we found out, his are very California raisins. There you go. Yeah. Wow, this is great, right? This was just, the power hour, right?
So
This is
when
demonetized for sure.
When are tickets going on sale?
Yeah, they were meant to go on today. I think we'll have them out within a week or so. As soon as we get that stage, because what we're really trying to go, we want to put on the best show ever because it's obviously there's a lot of pressure. You're going up against if you would put on a show against UFC, you better not make any fucking big errors.
Yeah.
So it's like for us, just the unique nature of the angled walls provides some production difficulties. So we have to build a stage around it. So before tickets go on sale, we need to finalize that. And of course, the closest seats will be the VIPs. We better not fuck up the VIP seating, which would be funny if they bought the closest seats and they couldn't see into the alley.
Does the commission have any say over this event?
No.
Okay.
Are your broadcasters allowed to openly do drugs? Or is it more
mean-
of a hush-hush thing?
Oh, I mean, we're on YouTube, so hopefully I don't go down the path you guys have of getting demonetized today. So we're going to
Yeah,
steer clear of that for the
Yeah, I mean that's been a
production.
long process for.
Yeah.
Who is going to be your commentators?
Still figuring that out. Obviously, I'm tackling the athletes, the venue, ticket sales first. We're talking to potential commentators and referees, but we haven't locked any of them in yet.
Listen, we don't know what the fuck we're talking about, but we'll also take a check for things we don't know what the fuck
Yeah,
we're
August
talking
16th and 17th, Thomas and Max Center.
But you have to do some of the nose beers to get some passion into the grappling community, you know?
I'll make an exception in this one case for you, Craig Jones.
I was trying to get Alex Jones to commentate the Gabby Garcia match. I
Oh,
thought he'd
wow.
provide some really articulate points. You know?
And the money's going to charity. You're going to involve him.
Well, he needs money, you know? I don't know. Now, I really want to get some comedians on board, like Nick Mullen. I think he'd love commentating me fighting a woman.
Nick
The
Mullen.
Cumtown guys.
Who is Nick Mullen?
You guys don't watch
Is that the
Cumtown?
red-haired guy?
Cumtown, New York podcast.
Oh, I know the Stavy.
yeah,
the,
it used
the
to
Greek
be
guy.
Stav, Nick Mullen, and Adam Friedland. Funniest podcast ever.
I hear that's the best podcast out there from my friends. I don't listen.
I do watch
you know.
Stavy. Stavy's fucking hilarious, but I don't know if I don't think I've seen Cumtown.
Look into Nick Mullen, funny guy. I think.
It does fit the brand. Oh, it's just great.
Is there do you guys have a website yet for CJO?
Yeah, Fair Fight. Wait, no, Fight. I don't even know the fucking website to be honest. But Fair Fight Foundation. There's something.
This is the
there.
best promotion ever.
Yes.
Like, you'll just fucking find it out.
We gotta
on your
go.
own,
We
you
really
know?
gotta
Yeah,
go to
yeah,
Vegas
yeah.
at that time. We gotta find a way to make it work.
We do have to have. We'll turn
Are-
it
is
into
it-
our
are you
own
gonna-
high rollers.
Are you gonna like have credential media? Like
For sure, I think.
Are you selling tickets, or is this just
No,
come all?
yeah,
come
the
as you
ticket
are?
sales are
Okay,
gonna go to
yeah,
the
sorry.
charity. Yeah.
Gonna go to charity. Yeah, we're gonna go to some obviously powerful Colombian manufacturing charities.
Ooh, Luke knows a lot about Colombia.
My
Getting
wife's
out
from
real
there.
charities.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Can you
You ever been there?
Can you quickly settle?
No,
life
but I've
debates?
sampled their exports.
Yep.
So has he?
So if I married one of
And their
them,
imports.
I married one of
Can
them.
you settle some personal debates between us? Just answer what you prefer: BBLs or Eastern European women.
Usually BBLs, Eastern European women will hurt you a lot more. Bank account
Thank you.
wise, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Eat all the shit.
When it comes to lifting weights, gloves or no gloves?
No gloves. I'd never use protection.
I think that's a perfect note to end it on. Look, that's great. You can't beat that. That's great.
Craig, let me see your tattoo, by the way. That's a good tattoo, man. Who did that?
It's a girl from Guadalajara, Elvia. She actually lives in New York now. She has a tattoo studio here somewhere.
Can I see this one too? No, this one.
This one? She did that one as well,
Dude,
yeah.
how the fuck do we have similar tattoos? It's kind of like shocking. Mine's are like old school American traditional. Yours a little more realistic,
yeah.
but
Mine's just a bunch of animals on that fucking Noah's Ark of it.
yeah.
Looks like Tristan's arm, our old camera guy, right?
Yeah,
rabid
except he
animals.
doesn't have a box cutter in his mouth that he's ready to pull out and start slap. We had a guy who worked on the show who just never fucking talked. And then like
Really?
over the course of 6 weeks, every time you saw him had a new tattoo everywhere.
But it was always rabid animals.
And it was rabid fucking like woodland animals. And we were convinced if you just said one wrong word,
yeah.
it was going to be, it was going to be a box cutter day
Yeah, it
in
was
the
gonna be the
office
end.
that
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying?
great.
I might
That's
need him for
great.
the event. Where's he at now?
Security, please, Long Island Luke, get him on the horn for that. Craig Jones, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks,
and
man. I really appreciate
regaling
this.
us
Thanks
with
for
your
having me.
ridiculousness. August
Next
16th
time
and
you come
17th.
through, people asked us, they're like, hey, Craig's coming through. Do you guys want to put some white powder on the table and then pretend to snort it? And I'm like, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? We're not going to do like the fake shit, right?
I mean, I'm not. I mean, I wasn't part of my contract. All right, I didn't agree to that. Right.
But next time, we can at least we can drink some beers, whether they go in the nose or
yeah,
not.
Delta
you know.
8s and beers. that'll
Delta
be
8s and
great.
beers.
Yeah,
We're in our
go.
40s. We have kids. It's different now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, keep
My
living,
heart's in its 40s. Well, but I'm here.
keep living the life we all wish we could. You'll die young, but you'll go out in a blaze of glory, and I can't wait for it.
I hope
all
so,
right?
yeah.
Are you going to the fights tomorrow?
No, I haven't got tickets yet. I've got to call in some favors, you know?
All right.
Uncle Dana. Yeah, there you go.
And
Dana,
next
come
time
on.
you're back in B team is when?
So I go Romania, Ukraine, Ibiza, obviously all business trips, and then back to Austin after
You've
that.
been
in
to
a few weeks.
Ibiza? I hate that fucking pronunciation, but
I know. It's like you put a little lisp on it. You sound like Mike
it's
Tyson.
unnecessary. It's like
that's how they
Caceres,
say
you know?
it.
It's
That's how
great.
they.
It's like, you know,
Don't get me wrong. I hate the pronunciation, but that's how they say it.
There it is.
I've been there once before. Yeah, I don't remember much.
Yeah,
but,
you partied like a motherfucker out there, huh?
Yeah, a bit of the pink powder, you know.
Did you ever do drugs with Oscar Willis? All right, we'll keep that conversation.
Oh, you
for
know
off camera.
Oscar.
Oscar, yeah,
You guys do weird interviews, like you're both naked in a tub together
Yeah.
and shit.
that's true. I mean, that's what we usually do. So might as well. film
Oscar
it.
is in phenomenal hang, but I cannot keep up with him for more than 30 minutes. You know.
He's got some good stories.
He is a disturbing human being.
No, he's. You know what? If shit went down, he would have our backs. All right, and you got to protect and support people like that.
No, I would just push him right into the fucking school shooter first. Just take him right in the back.
Okay, there we go.
All right, Craig Jones, there he is. Round of applause for Craig Jones, everybody. Let's hear it. There he is. Thank you, my friend. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. And hope we can catch up again soon. We'll try to make it out for the CJI.
The CJI Las
August
Vegas.
16th and
I'll steal
17th.
it.
Yeah, you can have it. You
Steal
can
it.
have it. All yours. All yours.
Great stuff there,
There he
Craig
is.
Jones. Coach Craig Jones. Follow him. Give him free drugs.
Yeah, that's
There
all
you
right.
go.
We were
wow,
expecting
he's
it. Don't
wearing.
worry.
He's actually has his name and number on the back of that jersey right there.
That's pretty cool.
That
Number
is
10 as
pretty
well.
badass.
Nice
There he
meeting
is.
you. I wasn't being racist, by the way.
Yeah. He's like, that's what they all say. That's great stuff.
All
right
right.
there.
Thanks to Craig for stopping by. We really appreciate that. That was great. And Luke, what'd you think? Long Island.
Sorry, I was saying bye to him. It was great.
Yeah.
Great interview. Yeah.
He's very Australian, huh?
Yeah.
Your dad would love him, right?
My dad would love him. My dad also said Adelaide is a great place to live. So shout out.
Where's your dad from? Melbourne, right?
Melbourne, yeah.
Yeah, that absolute dirt hole. We got to meet that guy one day. Right?
We do.
What's his first name?
We need to go to Australia. I want to go to
His
Australia.
first name is Alan.
Alan.
Alan W.
No, that's Alan Wong, one of our best
Oh,
listeners.
okay,
right?
okay.
Well, look at you
Luke,
shouting
you
out
know
a
my
listener.
last name, and it's not W.
I know. I was just being a shithead.
Oh, all
Oh,
right,
okay.
good.
Look, let's pick up where we left off. What a Friday. What a Friday we're giving, because that was a passionate UFC 302 preview that we gave, all right?
All right. So let's talk about this very quickly.
I dyed this hair.
Let's talk about the UFC news. Yeah, you with some shoe polish.
I think it's getting me 10 years younger. Am I in the sad point? Remember when Brian Kenny started dyeing his hair hazel and it was like somebody should tell him? Would you tell me?
Dude, I've been telling you.
All
Like, have I ever withheld my opinion about these matters to you?
Hey,
Like,
congratulations on that $50 haircut. It doesn't suck.
no, it's
They
all right.
did
I mean,
go high and tight like your high school women preference.
I think for $50 in Washington D.C., you're not going to get a better haircut.
No.
For $50, you're just not going to get a better.
What do you think about, okay, you won't shave the beard or put it up. You don't even want to have the conversation. Do you ever feel the need to like trim it aggressively to come in like a much tighter?
Yeah. Put the camera. But I feel like here's what I've learned aging into my 40s now.
Yeah.
That if your beard is long and the hair is long, like
You're
makes
hiding something emotionally.
that, or it just makes you look so old.
That's true.
You
I
gotta
mean,
have shorter hair.
I have shitty facial hair because I can't grow good facial hair. So when someone
Yeah,
like
you're
you,
a little boy.
so when someone like you can, and I'm like, I don't know if you respect the gift you've been given. I don't know if you take full responsibility of what you have.
I am maybe going to get a beard sponsor. Like I'm in the final the
for LukeThomas.com, your personal channel.
Yeah,
That's-
I'm like at the close to the finish line on
Oh
that.
shit! Can I get free hookup? I'll
Yeah,
promote it on
probably.
my my own personal. channel.
All right, so let's talk about some of this UFC news if we can here, Brian Campbell. Let's sort of get back to it. A few things that have come up here in the world of the UFC, not limited to the return of Nick Diaz. Nick Diaz will be back August 3rd. This will be in Abu Dhabi. This is a card headlined by Corey Sandhagen taking on
And it's
Umar.
loaded. It's a loaded fight night card.
It's got names. Loaded
Yes.
is somewhat debatable.
Good point. Good point.
But of course, Nick Diaz, who will be 41 years old at the time of the fight, is going to take on Vicente Luque. BC, talk me
What are
off
we
the
doing
ledge.
here?
Talk
What
me
are
off
we
the ledge.
doing?
Talk me off the ledge. Both of these guys, Nick Diaz has not won a fight since 2011 when Obama was in office. It was
Hasn't
BJ
fought since 2 years ago. He looked like
3 almost.
he did not want to be there and told everybody, I do not want to be here.
That fight was at 185. Presumably, this one's going to be at 170. He does look better in recent pictures. BC, what the fuck is going on with this
I don't
fight?
know. Like everyone else, I echo the idea of if this came out as Tony Ferguson riding a 7-fight losing skid, but yet we're giving him one more. And I'm sometimes, when I see Tony lose, but give a great effort, I get fall in the trap too. If you want to make Tony versus Nick, do it. What the hell are we doing on Nick versus Luque? Luke, a lot of people thought at first this must have been, ordered by Saudi Arabia government. Then we're like, wait, it's in Abu Dhabi. It's not connected to that. So it must have been ordered. No, it just seems, according to Ariel, like who had the intel on how this fight came together, that Nick had wanted to come back at UFC 300 against Colby Covington and had other things he was talking about, and then they shifted him here. So I get using what's left of his brand of a guy who wants to be there, but either put him in a celebrity fight or put him in there with another aging slugger that we love, and we go, okay, have your retirement fight together, and we're going to cheer you guys on out. Why is it that hard? I know Luque is an aftermarket version of Luque, but what good is going to come from this fight? Here's what I didn't like, Luke, because I do want to protect these guys. I didn't think he should have been in there against Robbie Lawler. And even though they had a brawl that a lot of people loved, Dana was like, wasn't that awesome? And I did hear fans DM me and be like, no, BC, you're wrong. That was super fun. There was just something about it, maybe because the guy there was constantly telling everybody he didn't want to be there. And it seemed like Nate was only doing it, or Nick, to please managers. I don't know the relationship behind the scenes. It doesn't mean he can't take it serious again, Luke, but the matchmaking here shocks me. Did they see tape that I didn't? Is Nick so dedicated here? I mean, the guy literally hasn't won a fight in 13 years. So as much as I love nostalgia and old guys coming back, I just don't freaking get this. And then it's a 5-round co-main event.
Yeah.
This is not 2008 Nick Diaz. This isn't even 2015 Nick Diaz.
And Luque is only 32 years of age, but obviously a bit of damage, battered opponent, I think is a good way to put this.
He doesn't gain much getting a win here against Nick Diaz.
It's a name opponent, certainly, but you're right. No, I know what you mean. I fully agree. And what the weirdest part about it, of course, is also on this card, it was announced Tony Ferguson is back at 170 pounds against Michael Chiesa. Now, I understand that matchmaking a little bit because you just would imagine that's going to be a grappling bout. Chiesa has proven susceptible over time to the darce, which is something that historically, anyway, Tony has been good at. If you look at the ground and pound of a guy like, just leave it alone. If you look at the ground and pound of a guy like Chiesa, he doesn't dish out a lot of physical punishment. It's more position and then submission along the way. So I don't think it's necessarily in that sense the most dangerous fight. But everyone's asking, if you have a 41-year-old Nick Diaz and a 40-year-old Tony Ferguson on the same card, why aren't you just doing that? My guess is one of the two declined it. It had to be that.
Why is one of them not fighting Jim Miller or
Right.
Matt Brown for one more? Like it's just like that part doesn't make sense. I don't want to see it. I mean, I'm so done with this experience now. Like if I had proof that Nick was in a great place and he was fighting Conor McGregor or GSP like it seemed like he wanted per Ariel, Luke, that he wanted aggressively to that be the fight, I go, okay, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get this, so I'm not supporting it at all.
I will say, what about the return of Tony Ferguson?
I mean,
seven in a row.
He has had life lately, but that should not be enough to keep somebody. I feel like they still feel bad and feel like they owe him.
Dana said when he announced that it's in all likelihood his last, certainly UFC fight. I'm hoping his last overall fight. But BC, if they let him go, BKFC might come calling. Dude, how does Jake Paul not take that fight? Seriously.
Right,
Jake Paul is probably
the
looking.
size difference is monstrous because Jake's a heavyweight.
Okay,
now.
but they can make that work. And also, I mean, they fought Woodley. Woodley was a big 170-er. Okay, fair enough. But still, also Nick Diaz. If Nick Diaz gets cut, you don't think Jake Paul's looking at a Nick Diaz fight?
I just don't get how many people watched that Robbie Lawler rematch and we're like, yeah, Nick Diaz, let's do it again. And then we're also like, all right, Luke, I'll do this. Like, I don't get that, Luke. Like, I am a connoisseur of some carnival shit, but like this is, I don't know.
BC.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the UFC gloves as. I mean, you know what? Hold on. Let's actually back up a step. Let's talk about staff. There has been belief that both Islam and Paulo Costa have staff. Let's show the picture. Okay, here's what I'm going to say. The one on the left is Islam. The one on the right is Paulo Costa. I'm not a doctor. I cannot affirmatively declare anything. I will say this. The one on Islam looks like it is staff that has since healed for quite some time. I don't think it's fresh staff at all, maybe like a week or two old in terms of bleeding over the worst of it. The one on Paulo Costa's foot, if you actually look over the rest of the toes, it looks like someone put out a cigarette over the other ones.
Those toes are still better than mine. I got to be honest.
That's Matt Burn.
Presentation-wise?
Let me finish.
You want me to put it on the table?
Yeah, please. That's Matt Burn. So I don't know if he has staff. He definitely looks to me a little bit more like Matt Burn along the way. Either way, BC.
I mean, presentation-wise, he's still. Yours are really bad. You know what? I should.
We gotta
save
have
it.
save it for the foot off.
I have it right here, but we should. I'm just going to give you the side view. We should save it for the foot off.
Foot off, yes. Save it for the foot off.
The loser. I can't figure out if the loser or winner should get a. What do you call that? I want a petty.
A what? Oh,
not
a pedicure.
Not Coach Sandusky or
pedicure.
Pedicure.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, manicure and a pedicure.
I think both of us should get that if we're willing to embarrass ourselves publicly.
My wife has begged me to get one. Begged me.
But yeah, so what were we talking about again, Luke? I don't know.
Staff. Do you feel like this might be the second opponent that?
Well, I got to ask you.
That Poirier has had in a row that has staff.
Well, I got to ask you an honest question in line with that. Does Poirier knock out BSD without staph infection?
It's still possible because he's reckless. Cannot rule it out. I tend to think probably not. And I know everyone's going to kill me. Oh, fuck you. You picked against him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I did. I think BSD is reckless, but
then let me present a potential scenario for you after I spent the first 45 minutes of the show telling you that, damn, I love Dustin Poirier. He's an American hero, but damn, I can't talk myself into a true angle for him to do what we want him to do, which is activate our heartstrings and pull on it and end his career on top, right? Bispingian of him. But, Luke Thomas, what if the staff compromises Islam like it actually did BSD? Although Islam answered the question, I thought, in a great way when the fan asked him at the press conference on Thursday and said, I'm going to be fine no matter what. Don't worry about it. And he's not an excuse guy. He's not going to come out there and brag about it. But, Luke, are you prepared for this potential otherworld reality where Dustin Poirier finds a way to focus on that staph infection and stops Islam and wins the title? And then at UFC 303, Conor McGregor knocks out Michael Chandler, and then we get Dustin Conor 4 for the lightweight title.
It's possible.
I mean,
it's possible.
It's actually being set up kind of
It's
indirectly,
possible.
right?
It is absolutely 1,000,000,000% possible.
I don't think it'll change the main event on Saturday. But are you concerned at all? Should we be looking out for any reason that we'll see Islam sluggish or fatigued more because of this, or have a weird thing on his pec like
The thing
Kevin Lee
is
did?
the thing is this. We both predicted a 3rd round stoppage. I will say this: if he can't get him out of there in 3, then it will be a really kind of interesting question, because what does he have after that championship round? Does he like? If this really was staff, you're going to see that at the end of the 3rd and the beginning of the 4th, or if it even goes to the 5th, you're going to see it big time there. So it's just a question of how long the fight goes. There's a way in which he actually is really suffering, and we just don't ever actually see it by virtue of the way the fight itself goes. That makes sense.
I guess.
All right.
but-
Let's move this along if we can. So there's been a lot of comments about the gloves. Let's look at a side-by-side view of
Is this the first card with the new
It's
gloves?
the first card with the new gloves, UFC 302. So the one in this gentleman on the left of the screen is the old one. On the right of the screen is the new one. The right one, as you can see, the profile is a little bit smaller. There's an extra bend in it along the way.
Looks like less padding, doesn't it?
It is a little bit.
fist?
I can say this: it's a little lighter. It's closer to 3.5 ounces, not 4 or even 5 and 6.
What does that
depending-
mean for hand braking? Will we see more of it?
Well, this is what I mean. Let me just say something here, because you know what? Let's do this. Let's play Sean Strickland's comments about it, because he doesn't like them. Let's see what he has to say.
It's also the first time that, we're going to have the new UFC gloves, and Islam was saying, they might lead to more cuts because they're
they suck.
smaller. Yeah, you don't like them?
Yeah, they suck, dude. I don't know who, can we talk to the person who designed these gloves? Have you ever been in a fight in your fucking life? It's like you get these fucking dorks that have no idea, and they're like, oh, this sounds like a good idea, and they make it. Same thing in motorcycles. Like, I bought motorcycles, and they put so much stupid shit on it. I'm like, dude, how did you assholes think this was a good idea? So, yeah, no, they absolutely suck. You dropped the ball on that one.
Can you expand a little bit on why you don't like the gloves, the new gloves?
Well, I mean, the ones they gave me are too small, so I had to go up a size. But I think what was the reasoning that they want to try to make it so people stop poking people in the eyes?
I think so, and less cuts, even though Islam said they're going to have more cuts.
Well, they're a little bit more like a stitched, and dude, at the end of the day, people fucking get poked in the eyes because they open their fucking hands. Unless you put a boxing glove on, that shit's not going to stop. So it's just people creating a problem that we did not have. If you get cut because you get hit in the fucking head, don't get hit in the fucking head, you don't get cut. You get poked in the eyes because you fucking open your hands. Don't open your hands, you won't get poked in the eye. So it's just, as people creating problems that aren't there.
But we did need an improvement from the last gloves that had detailed issues,
The
correct?
UFC does not have to deal with a players' union.
Because he would know better than we would. I'm not arguing against his take
Yeah.
that they're worse, but did they address the concerns that were aimed at?
This is what I think people have to really wake up to. There, as I just said, there is no fighters union. So when the UFC wants to roll out an equipment change, which is like the Reebok deal, when they want to roll out any new thing, new gloves, whatever, there's no athlete committee, there's no athlete representative that they really have to work with in conjunction to do any of these things. There's nothing that is enabling them to have any kind of say over this. So they just, same with USADA, they roll out the policy. They're like, oh, we asked the fighters if they were in favor of that. But that's just simply not true, not in any kind of meaningful way. And then, of course, what do you find? We see over time, they have to make adjustments over time. I will say this, we simply don't have enough information to know if these gloves are good or bad. The skepticism from the fighters gives me some pause, but let's ultimately see what the data really shows about cuts, about eye pokes, anything else is trying to solve for, handbrakes. But I'm just going to say this, all of this is what I mean about like not doing anything to help themselves. Any kind of equipment change, they should be able to have some kind of say over, and they don't because they chose not to have one.
Or soft launch in the Dana White Contender Series or on the regionals.
It just gets back to, if you don't want a fighters union, complaining about gloves after the fact means fucking nothing. Nothing.
I hope it works out for everyone. I really do in the end, Luke. But
all right,
what about the gold ones though?
That's just a color change.
I know, but do you like that?
I don't. I also don't understand why every short pair of shorts that Venom makes has to be loud. They're all like super loud.
But it was Trevor Whitman. Didn't he have the blueprint for the better gloves? Didn't Rashad tell us
It is
that?
believed that he does, but to my knowledge, I don't know if there's any data that supports his work either. Which isn't to say I'm speaking against it. I'm simply saying What do we know from an evidence-based perspective? I'm not sure what that answer is. Last but not least, on Sean Strickland, he did a sit-down with Daniel Cormier on his YouTube channel and spoke about UFC fighter pay. It certainly made some waves on social media. Here's what he had to say.
But no, it's just doing the fucking right things, man. Like, the UFC doesn't do the right things. It doesn't fucking do the right things. It doesn't do the right things with most of their rosters. Like, if you go look at, what these fucks are, the guys that run the UFC, what they're making to what guys get paid is fucking shit, dude. The UFC does not do the fucking right things. And unless you hold them at fucking, gunpoint, they ain't gonna fucking do it.
DC?
I would love to hear DC's response to that. What did he say? Because,
I don't know.
not much. This is where Strickland can become the hero that the fighters need, because he has something to lose and risk by taking this stance, and he doesn't seem to be wrong. And you need more people with something to lose to speak up, which no one does. I'm not surprised he is. Well, I guess I am. I mean,
Okay, but did he not, like, a few fights ago say, I'm a company guy, just I'll tell me
yeah,
where
that's
I'll
what I'm
show
saying.
up?
Does this fit the narrative that gets thrown around a lot, that Dana hates him and the UFC doesn't want him on top because of some of the elements
I do think
of his
that they
mess?
hate him and they
They
don't
are
want him on
standing
top.
strong, like, we won't police our fighters. We've been up and down that debate a million times, but now he's turned the corner and bringing some real truth. I wonder if they completely ignore it because they know that if they get into a war with him, he's just going to keep throwing. That's the thing. They're going to lose these debates because the truth is mounted up against them, but they won the debate in court by paying to refuse a trial, and they use intimidation to shut people up. I don't, we haven't seen somebody, we've seen like Randy Couture fight the good fight, but we haven't seen somebody public with a microphone take it to this level. I wonder if they just ignore it so it goes away, and maybe
Dude, when
he goes
when
away.
was the last time a fighter complaining about pay meant? Serious question. When was the last
that it meant anything? Francis Ngannou.
Okay, but he left.
Because
I
he
meant,
left, right? Because he left,
right? But he didn't fix UFC pay. He just fixed his own pay by leaving.
Yes,
I meant change UFC pay. When was the last time anyone complaining?
Didn't Adesanya get a huge raise when Ngannou left? Like, didn't that create a little bit of a ripple? So he did some positives.
The only time I can really think of was the case of TJ Dillashaw and Donald Cerrone when they did the double MAAA with Bjorn Rebney.
Yeah.
And if you look at their contracts, they signed new contracts in the middle of what they already had was an existing one before they were on their last fight of their deal, and they got a big bump in pay out of nowhere. That kind of stuff has mattered, right? When you have leverage over them.
Yeah.
But short of that, it does nothing.
I still respect this move. From
I
Strickland
respect. Don't get me wrong. It's
a
not
lot.
that. It's not that I don't respect the clarity of thought and really understanding what the power dynamics are and what the pay should be. I respect it in that sense, absolutely. But I saw people being like, "Well, if you want to leave, if you don't like it, just leave." First of all, you can't. Like that even though he's an independent contractor, he is exclusive to one promoter. That's the first thing I'd say. And the second thing I'd say is for people being like, "Oh, well, this could disrupt and turn over the apple cart." It won't do fucking shit to the apple cart. It will. Everything is, dude. I hope all the fighters are very happy with the arrangement that they have created for themselves, because it ain't changing.
Okay, what do you
in
think,
my lifetime?
What do you think would happen if Strickland wins? Let's say he thoroughly beats Costa and wins, and we're waiting for the call out in the interview. Is he going to call it DDP, Adesanya? And instead he goes, Dana, take the 50,000 bonus that I'm supposed to complain about and beg you for and shove it up your ass. It's about time we changed for these fighters. Does he just kind of get hung out to dry and not offer to fight for a while? And or does, like, because that's how change when you have to disrupt. He's a disruptor and he's willing to disrupt in a lane that he believes in. And
Complaining
I appreciate
is
that.
not disrupting. It's not the same thing.
So you'd have to try to hold out, and then you would just get pushed down and removed.
Yeah, you would have to fall on your sword in all likelihood, which I understand why they don't want to do. But this is why, like, voting for a union, you would not be falling on your sword, and they didn't do that either.
Do you realize it's like once a week we get a UFC press release that's like, to their credit, we've signed another multi-million-dollar partnership with this company. All they would have to do one time is say, hey, guys, we've signed with this crypto thing you never heard of, and it's a $100 million deal, and we're going to give the whole thing to the fighters. Like, if they just did stuff like that, like, once every 5 years, couldn't that just, like, shut people up? And,
I think people would shut up.
They just don't even care about doing that.
Yeah,
it's
they
just
don't.
like,
Why do they? This is what I mean. It's like, what's Sean Strickland complaining going to do? Nothing. Nothing. It will do nothing.
I guess you're right.
It will do nothing.
I respect it. I respect it.
I respect him understanding that executive pay is out. This is not just true in the UFC. It's true more generally in the American economy, that executive pay is out of control relative to what the people who actually make the stuff get paid. 100% he's on the money. I just want to be clear, complaining. I'm not saying he was, like, trying to be the hero to anybody. He was just speaking his mind. But for people who are like, oh, what's the UFC going to do about it? Fucking nothing. They don't care. Doesn't mean shit to them. They don't care at all that fighters complain. It does nothing to their business. So let them complain. I think that's the UFC's perspective anyway.
All right.
All right, BC, with that in mind, we have one last thing to get to, which is the boxing.
Somebody's going to bang.
So why don't you set this up? What is happening in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia? It was supposed to be the Better Beef Bivol fight.
Yes.
Bivol is still on the card.
Fighting a guy no one's ever heard of to stay busy, but it's cool that he's still on the card, I guess, defending his titles.
First of all, do we know when that fight is going to be rebooked?
The Better Beef one?
Yeah.
I think the injury is going to take a little bit, so I'm thinking
This year?
without having knowledge that it's probably going to be, or maybe I don't know. I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I think they would love to slip it in before the end of the year.
But the big fight,
Turki Al-Sheikh did announce, by the way, that the Fury Usyk rematch will take place December 21st. So,
but the big news, of course, the big fight anyway is Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang.
It's in the afternoon from Kingdom Arena in Riyadh. It's his own pay-per-view. I like it because I like that they've committed to this 5-on-5 thing, because even though it doesn't touch us as American fans as deeply to see longtime rivals Eddie Hearn and from Queensberry, Frank Warren go head-to-head with their 5 fighters, and Luke, to be fair, the captain of the Matchroom team is Deontay Wilder, who's not even a Matchroom fighter and was sort of a wild card selection. But even with this card kind of falling apart, they've propped it back up and kept it there. Put Wilder versus Zhilei Zhang, in the main event. And Luke, as we get closer, after I've written a couple previews for CBS Sports, this is a creative, really fun heavyweight fight. It matters. It's in a season of Saudi just continuing this commitment to the heavyweight division and boxing in general. You got some interesting matchups in this 5-on-5 overall that are worth picking apart, especially whether you're hardcore or casual. But just the violent potential, the tense stalking that we're going to see for as long as it lasts between Deontay Wilder and Big Bang Zhang. Dude, you got to watch this fight. This is going to be wild, weird, slow at times, crazy at other times. The fact that Wilder already has a fight scheduled August 3rd against Jared Big Baby Anderson, the unbeaten American heavyweight prospect, and is being groomed to fight Anthony Joshua if he wins both, or I guess in theory doesn't look bad in both, because, look, Turki Al-Sheikh is boxing Santa Claus, and they're just giving us everything we ever thought we wanted. I didn't realize how much I kind of want this fight. Both guys are coming off direct losses to Joseph Parker in the last 4 months. Both have huge flaws. We don't know if Deontay Wilder is going to bounce back and be the same, because when we saw him 4 months ago or 6 months ago after that ayahuasca retreat, he just did not have it anymore, did not have the killer instinct. Well, now he says, I'm going back to trying to get a body in the ring, and he's going for the knockout. But Luke, as good as Zhilei Zhang has done in rebuilding his career the last few years, he's 41 and never had championship stamina. He could run into a bomb squad delivery late in this fight easily. Dude, where do you lean on this outside of the fact that they're gonna bang?
This fight is interesting. You had Deontay Wilder, who went out on his shield in the third Tyson Fury fight. I know he looked good against Robert Helenius, and then
that was 1 round in 2 years.
It was 1 round in 2 years. Knocked him out, former sparring partner, and then obviously came back against Joseph Parker and looked like shit. Looked terrible, disinterested. He nearly got finished at one point in the fight.
How skinny his legs were.
He just did not look at all like the Deontay Wilder we had previously seen. And we were used to him losing rounds. Remember, I think he was down 6-0 in terms of rounds against Luis Ortiz.
Yes.
And then he just, crushed him with the one
Same thing in the rematch, yeah.
Yeah, crushed him with the one nuclear shot. So, okay, whatever. But there was just none of that. Okay, the other part is Zhang looked good against Joe Joyce not once but twice.
Knocking him out both times.
And then he looked like shit against Joseph. Well, he knocked down Joseph Parker. He had a moment in the fight.
He had 2
especially
knockdowns.
in that third. But then after that, just kind of hit the brakes the whole time.
He doesn't have the right stamina yet.
He's 41, 42.
41.
And Wilder, 38 years of age. Dude, this is a monster fight, at least in the sense of what the fuck do these two guys have left, if anything?
Well, if Zhang wins, which is very possible, he might get Anthony Joshua next, because we also have on this card Philip Ergovich fighting Daniel Dubois. They think for the IBF title, but it's not sure.
Now
because
it's the interim one.
Because now Alexander Usyk has filed an appeal to the IBF, so they might be able to keep that real belt together. And I'm going to tell you ahead of time, spoiler alert, they will, because it makes financial sense to everyone to keep that an undisputed, and mostly to the sanctioning body. They'll make more money if Usyk's defending it. Either way, Luke, if we've got the fallout of this Ergovic versus Dubois fight, the winner of that and the winner of this fight is going to be in play for Anthony Joshua potentially, and that's big business to come. So Wilder said the loss was what he needed. It embarrassed him against Parker so much that he went back and fell in love with working hard again. He is a slight underdog, Wilder is, about -1 or +140 last time I checked. Zhang is a favorite, just slight in the other way. I'm leaning Wilder here, but either man could legitimately fall apart at any point, or either man could land that one big shot and knock the other one out. This is going to be crazy.
I would say Zhang has more tools.
Better boxer for sure.
Yeah. I don't think he has a bad chin, but it doesn't matter. If Deontay really is something like what he used to be, he can beat Zhang with a big shot. So I expect Wilder to lose a bunch of rounds. The question is, can he rescue himself along the way, like he last fight notwithstanding, and the Fury fights or whatever. But in many of his fights, he just comes out and rescues himself.
Zhang is hilarious, but he's been his worst advocate. Do you remember when he knocked down Jerry Forrest 3 times in the first round in their fight about 5 years ago, and then struggled to settle for a draw and was so exhausted afterwards that he had like organ failure, and he found out that he told that he drinks 0 water during training camp. He
looked like shit.
Didn't know he was supposed to. So he's repaired it to a degree, but he still has these lapses in fights where he just does nothing.
Yeah.
It's going to be weird, but there's so much at stake and so much at play. And I mentioned the banging. We've got another one of these really funny videos that Queensberry put together. Here's Jaleel Zhang promising Deontay Wilder what he's going to do on Saturday.
Hey, Deontay, you're bronze bomber. I'm bigger ban. I'm ban you. Hey, Deontay, you're...
I mean, look, there's like 8 of those videos they pull out. They're all basically the same, like, hey, Eddie Hearn, I bang you too, you know?
It's like, hey, dude, I'm going to bang you.
This is the best bit ever.
It's amazing bit.
It is such a good bit.
Brian, I'm not going to bang you.
The fight's going to be fun, Luke. A couple other prospects worth watching. Dude, Saudi Arabia is on fire.
Yeah,
and
I know.
By proxy, boxing is. I could not be more fired up.
You know.
We could be. So we're about at 6 p.m. We're looking maybe 6 p.m. on
probably.
the East Coast. The main event.
And BC, perhaps the biggest event of all tomorrow. You are aware of what it is, right?
Not UFC 302.
No.
Tuki's birthday. No. What are we talking about?
Champions League final. Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund.
Oh, all right. All right.
If they win, they'll have their 15th title, which would be far and away. They've already got the record that would just make the record even harder to reach. Yeah. Kings of Europe, motherfucker.
Yeah, you've been a fan of them for a hot minute. A hot second.
Kings of Europe.
Here, I'll say it before and I'll say it again. Put the camera. Don't put the camera. Do not put the camera on me. Because I want to see that. I want people to watch them say it to you. Just because you bandwagoned the most famous, popular, and successful team in the world,
keep being mad.
You can't dunk on people, especially people that don't give a flying damn about the game or the teams.
Stay mad.
It's not a dunk.
Stay mad.
There's nothing. There's like.
Look at how agitated you are. Stay mad.
Yeah, I'm getting agitated, but it doesn't make you look good that I'm getting this.
I don't care how I look to you about it. It's the joy that I bring. Stay mad about it.
Well, let's poll your audience.
Fine. I'm doing a fucking watch along on my channel for it tomorrow. Well, yeah, join me 3 p.m. It's the game.
Will you have the same lax drug testing rules as the Craig Jones Invitational during that? I might drop in. Right?
I don't know. It might have Chief Keef rules. I
might join the Zoom stream.
I hate being sober. You know.
Wow,
what I'm
you
saying?
are doing I mean, I don't disrespect, despite the jokes we make, that the business you've built, and if you can make this into something great, if the audience will tune in, even better.
To be clear,
but you are doing a soccer live stream.
Yeah, I don't know if they will tune in. It's a bit of an experiment.
Is this like what? How would you describe what this championship is?
It's the biggest. So the World Cup would be the biggest one for all the nations.
Every 4 years.
Yeah, but no, it's Argentina versus whoever. It's a nation teams. These are professional teams, club teams
from all different leagues.
All of Europe.
Okay.
All of Europe. But I mean, dude, they're far and away the best teams in the world. Like not even close.
Like Ajax.
Yeah, it'd be almost like a UFC All-Star division if there's such a thing. Ajax is from they're not good enough anymore. Ajax isn't good enough.
All right, final question.
Yeah.
Taking the family to London late summer.
That's amazing.
It's going to be opening day for the Premier.
Yeah, as they say, the Premier League.
The Premier League. Which tickets, which game, which environment should I seek out when we're talking London?
I would go. I mean, I don't know how much Premier League tickets are, but I know London is fucking expensive.
Yes.
I would say Arsenal, the Etihad, or the Emirates.
I'm not far from Chelsea.
Not the Emirates.
Would that be a tough ticket, Chelsea, you think?
Stamford Bridge, I don't know. I've never been to one of those games.
All right.
I think Tottenham might be more affordable because that's a scrub ass.
Maybe I'll go to Forest Park with Ariel. Luke.
Queen's Park.
I don't know what he's speaking about.
He
talks about forests all the time. I don't even get it.
Oh, there's like
I like different
trees.
I like different trees.
There's Nottingham Forest. That's
that could be cool, I think. But Luke, good luck to your team, Real. Okay, this means a lot to you. I want to see you happy.
I like how mad it makes people so mad, and I love it. I love how much it irritates you. It doesn't need to. You let it.
Because I dealt with, I'm a Mets fan growing up at the intersection between Yankees and Red Sox fandom.
Yes.
So you're just kind of forgotten despite the Mets having giant success in different windows. It wasn't sustained. So I dealt with the arrogance of this. And if it's like a kid who
like Yankees fans?
Yeah, but if you grew up, my best friends are Yankees fans. If you grew up a Yankees fan and your dad was, and I mean, the biggest hero in my town growing up was Frank Specshea, the former 1947 Yankees World Series hero. I get all that. But you're a day one fan. You jumped on this bandwagon on day one, on like just yesterday, all right? You're not a day one fan, Luke.
Yeah, I'm not from Spain. That's right.
So I don't think you can. There's rules. Like some people subscribe
There are
to
no
rules.
rules. I can do whatever I want.
I used to work with Jim Basketball at ESPN. He said, if adult male wears a jersey to a sporting event, he's a child.
That's because he's an insecure man who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Jim's a great man.
He might be great. He's still insecure.
So, like, I grew up. If you could get beat up based on what teams you follow. Like there was a code of conduct.
You're from a dirtbag place. Yes, that's right. I will say this.
I want to be the human form of your law in Oklahoma.
You're just gonna slash my tires and mug me. I will say this. If you don't cheer for the teams where you live, you're a dirtbag. I do believe that.
See, I was like the UConn hater growing up in UConn territory. Now I don't care
Why?
anymore because I was a Georgetown fan. It was, the Big East rivalries matter.
That's when Georgetown was good. They're shit now. I mean, they're terrible
this was
now.
the 80s and
This was
90s.
what was this Iverson or
This was Morning at
Morning,
Mutombo
okay,
Iverson. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was the last. That was the last of the.
No,
the
they had a good run with Jeff Green, with Hibbert. I mean, they were
Sort of.
But then college basketball died, so No, it did. It did.
Dude, I was reading about this. It might make a comeback with NIL.
That's right.
Because they're making so much money.
Yes.
Some of these guys are making so much money in college.
Think of how many players per year never reached their potential because they came out too early and it just didn't work out. Now you get a chance to get more finished products in the NBA.
Can you imagine?
You can increase the college
Imagine
experience.
being like the main guy at UNC, the fucking
like Tyler Hansbrough, just slanging.
Can you imagine what it must be like to walk into a party? You're like 6'8", and you're the most famous person on that campus, and you're young. Oh my God, dude. It must be unbelievable. You've never walked into a room and been that cool in that room. I've never done that.
Our sound guy, Ken, just stood up. I think he's thinking about the Poontang possibilities.
All right, we should probably get going.
All right, I'm sorry, Ken.
Hey, let's remind everyone. Thank you to Craig Jones. Be on the lookout for Craig Jones invitational stuff for tickets and additional announcements related to matchups and participants. We'll see how that goes. You can follow us on social. All of those spots right there. Morning Combat basically everywhere. I don't even know if people are manning these accounts anymore.
We're in transition. We're transitioning, okay? But respect us during this transition.
We still upload on Instagram and Twitter. I don't know about TikTok
We've got a big June plan. We're going to be hitting the road a bit. We
That
got
is
a big
true.
June plan. So
we do have a big June
details to come, but the expansion you want is in the works, guys. So
For
hang with us,
Monday,
okay?
we'll be
Hang
back.
with us.
Monday, we're back live 11 a.m. in the East. We'll be right back here to get you ready. Until then, you can go to morningcombat.store. You can use the promo code LIVE10 and get some gear.
Yeah, Average Joe Art probably created it. He's a great guy, too, so shout out to him. Yeah,
And
there you
that's
go.
it. BC, any final thoughts
Do you
for
want
the
to say
weekend?
anything to the Paquettes or anything?
What's up to the Paquettes? What's up to Danger Mouse, by the way, as an active participant on my chats?
Oh, I like Danger Mouse. He turned on us when we...
No. Turned on you, perhaps, not me.
All right.
Danger Mouse made the MK Hub shirt.
Danger Mouse did make the MK Hub shirt.
Oh, that's
Luke was
right. Yes.
Yes, that's a gross, filthy shirt. That is our bestseller. So that's it. I don't want to do the show any longer, so I'm going to go, all right?
All right, we're out of here.
Luke has a train to catch in another
For
job.
Brian Campbell, I'm Luke Thomas. Thanks to everyone who watched. Thanks again to Craig Jones for stopping by. Until then, may all your gains be motherfucking loyal.
That's a good idea.